Welcome, race fans of the 100% Cup Series, to the Michigan Speedway, the 2-mile D-shaped oval here in the Irish Hills. We saw an absolute barn burner of a race in D2 last night. Lead changes aplenty, 3-4 wide slide drops, everything you can imagine. So I can only imagine we'll see the same here with the big boys for the 400-miler. It's going to be myself, Corey Silva, giving you the calls. We got Jeffrey Souza helping out here. I talked with him last night on PTR TV, and of course, Carlos Acosta pressing the buttons. Jeff, there's no other words to say. We saw one of the best sim races I think we have ever saw last night, and one can only imagine that we're going to see very similar tonight.
Yeah, that's the hope for sure. Obviously, the conditions for tonight's race a little bit hotter, a little bit slicker there. 120-degree track temp right now, and it is partly cloudy. So I think we could see something similar to yesterday, but I think at the same time this track is going to be slick, it's going to be slippery, and we'll just have to wait and see, obviously, what these guys plan on doing when we get the green flag.
Yeah, well, last night I think the track temp started off at 107 or so, and definitely some cloudy skies, so a little bit more slipping and sliding here will either cause a little more calamity or a little bit more spread out. I guess we will see. But Jeff, I know you carried over your segment with Souza Media last night, your Souza Media lap around the track, and I think we have just enough time here in the pre-race to give the D1 viewers a chance to see a look around the speedway.
Here we are at Michigan International Speedway down the front straightaway. Going to be reaching speeds up to 200 miles per hour in the draft today. As we get right around that bottom seam, we don't want to go under that seam as it will be pretty loose down there. The back straightaway, we're going to see a lot of side drafting and breaking of the draft up and down the racetrack. And then down to turn number 3, similar as turn 1, you're going to want to be right around that bottom seam. You don't want to go down into it though, as the car will get loose. And then open up the wheel and get back down the front straightaway to the line. And that is our lap around the track. Last night's D2 race saw a lot of amazing racing out of the top 5 or 10 drivers in the field. John Delaney to the inside right here at Pat Getter. Adam Benefield says, I'm going to make the room I want to be in. Goes 3 wide in the middle of the corner. They go down the backstretch side by side, all 3 of them bouncing off each other, dooring each other. They dive down into turn 3 right here. John Delaney makes a little bit of contact and just sticks his car right on that bottom lane, clearing both of them for the lead. But that wasn't it. Then we went to the final lap. Jason Taylor in the 41 car sees the top 2 get side by side, has nowhere to go but the wall. And that is what he did. He stuck that thing right up there in that outside lane. They made contact under him, and he was able to clear both of them and get to the checkered flag first. Now, whichever driver tonight is able to be in the right position and make the right moves, they will end up like Jason Taylor, doing some donuts and celebrating a Division I 100% Cup Series win here at Michigan International Speedway.
And that was our Souza Media lap guide around the track here. You saw the phenomenal finish we saw last night, akin to the Auto Club race, I think in 2013. 2 guys battling and let somebody go right around the top and right past them by. So we'll see if that happens tonight, Jeff. But as you said, with the track conditions being a little bit slicker, might be a little bit harder to do that.
Yeah, I've raced on a couple tracks this week, and as the track gets hotter, that bottom lane just gets a lot tougher to run. I know last night we saw these guys basically just sending it on that bottom lane, and for the most part making it stick. I think tonight it's going to be a little bit tougher to make those type of moves stick, though.
Tougher indeed, but these guys down trackside now. Let's go through 100% Cup Series starting lineup. Andrew Dyson on the front row. The first time I've ever seen him on the pole. Bobby Anderson in second. Dustin Hall, a good starting spot for him. And the Matt Long in 97 Lockdown Racing in fourth. Clayton Hoffman in fifth. Pat Gitter had a solid run last night, but I'm pretty sure it ended in the barrier in sixth. Adam Benefield, he was in that phenomenal finish in seventh. And John Delaney, he was pulling the sliders. I expect to see more of them from the eighth spot. Chad Gunningsman in ninth, and then rounding out our top 10, the 47 at Jim Schofield.
Blake Giglio will be starting in the 11th spot with Sean O'Brien to his outside. In 13th, we'll see Derek Heitman. He was strong last night. And Mark Paget in 14th racing to try to get in the chase. We got Trevor Ryan starting in 15th with Matt Desiani in 16th. Jedi Taylor, last night's winner, in 17th with Neil Peterson in 18th. Brandon Pierce 19th, and Rob Tracy will round out our top 20.
All right, and I don't know who's doing administrative duties tonight, if we get a second pace lap or not. So we're going to rush through these just in case we don't get one. We have Ralph Hutchison 21st, Randy Drumhill, the Drumhammer, in 22nd, Tanner Marty 23rd, Bryson Alexander in the 24th spot. Rounding out our field of 29 participants, Dalton Mobley, Kyle Ammon, Kevin Steele, Alexander Vandesam. I thought he was going to get a provisional. He found himself here tonight. And then Alex Princeton will conclude our starting lineup here. And it looks like we will indeed get one pace lap. We already talked about our weather conditions here. Just to quickly bring up our stages here on the evening. We'll have a stage on lap 45 and 120 and 6 sets of tires in the pits. Oh, we will get an extra pace lap. So now we have a little bit more time to breathe. So, Jeff, 45 laps. Is that on the cusp of fuel, or is that out of the fuel range, would you say?
So I think it's going to be close. You know, these guys now having an extra pace lap. Obviously, we were going to just go green right away, but just make sure everybody's in the spots they need to be. We'll have an extra one here. I think it's going to be close for the majority of these guys, especially with this hotter track. The hotter track honestly helps these guys fuel-wise. I think, you know, you're going to be off throttle more than you were last night. 45 laps, though, I think should be enough for these guys if we were to go green to make it. The question is, are they going to be able to make it back around to pit road? And we've seen that happen before in this league where someone stretches it just a little too far and ends up running out under a stage break. So hopefully we don't have any issues like that, and these guys were able to give us a great show for the first 45 and stay green.
I do like the it's already gone now, but the grammatics on the overlays, it said it was the 0th caution when the pace lap was extended. That little minor thing makes me laugh here. But it will be interesting to see if this does go green. Delaney, Benefiel, even Jason Taylor were saying, yeah, there it is, oath caution. That makes me laugh. Whether we have a more calm race. They said, and I said, I don't think they can do last night for 400 miles, Jeff, and they kind of agreed with me. But if the situation is presented where everybody's racing aggressive, do you be patient and back out of it, or do you fight for those points and stay in the pack and risk everything with no backup car?
It's definitely tough. You know, if these guys think they're going to stay green for that first stage, you might see the guys mid-pack or so just kind of taking care of their stuff early, lifting earlier, not going full throttle on the straightaways just to make sure that they're able to make it. But like I said, based on what we saw last night and what I saw this week, I think 45 to 46 is the end of that window.
So we'll see that indeed. Let's get a night of racing underway. That iRacing Mustang pace car takes the left in the pit lane. Andrew Dyson, the Aussie, he's going to enter the start zone, and Barney will get the race underway. Green flag in the air. Let's go racing in the Irish Hills.
Down into turn number 1, side by side for the lead already. Last night we saw a lot of big jumps for the leaders, but not tonight. Dyson on the inside. Bobby Anderson working hard on that outside lane. He's got the help. 3 Dirty South teammates right there with Long joining that battle. And it looks like Anderson's going to get the edge going into turn 3.
Yeah, the initial start where it is held by Barney the flagman, it's a little easier for the outside to time it because you're both going for that exact timing thing. There was no benefit there for Dyson. And, of course, the drafting help, helped out Bobby Anderson, who will take the lead and lead it. And he's going to have about a 3-car length lead. That's about the biggest lead we saw last night. Now it comes down to turn number 1. Do you block the bottom? Do you block the top? Look at the 97, getting a little bit of a run. He saw that outside really be effective last night. But Dyson's trying to dig on the inside, and Pat Gitter trying to fill the space in up top. But it looks like Dyson will shut the door on him. And then you got Dustin Hall, Delaney, and Benefield there at the back of the shot.
And right away, these guys are trying to get all they can. You know, these restarts are really those times that people are going to slip up. You're going to be able to get by them, and then once we get a long run here, you're probably going to see a decent amount of just riding, as we do have a lot longer race. And like you said, no backup car tonight. Whatever you got to start the race with is what you have. If you get damaged, you're going to have to deal with that.
Yeah, and that's just something that I always predict on restrictor plate style tracks, that there's always going to be a lull. There's going to be a time where everyone's just riding laps. And to be honest, we very seldom see it. So whether that happens, I guess that's a big TBD. A little 3-car breakaway to start this race off with Anderson, Long, and Gitter having about a half second or so in the bank over Dustin Hall. But you can see Hall just charging that bottom, and look at that, John Delaney at the back of the shot, side by side on the outside. He was the one that was making those, as Benefield coined them, haymakers, essentially a dive bomb, which I know, Jeff, in basic principle, making a dive bomb on a speedway just doesn't seem to make sense to the brain, but that's what they were doing last night. And I do expect to see that later.
Yeah, and especially into turn 3 is where we saw that happen yesterday. You know, these guys, turn 3 a little bit different banking than turn 1, kind of fall into it a lot better than you do in turn number 1. So it's a lot easier to be able to send that car on that yellow line and just slide up and clear people. So I think once the tires start falling off, you're going to see people start falling back, and you're going to see people start being a little bit more aggressive and try to take opportunities when they see them.
Yeah, we did actually even see tires strategy become applicable last night. So we do have to remember that Jason Taylor won last night's race on a 2-tire call. I'm pretty sure he had over 20 laps on the left side tires, if not more than that. And you can see them really scattering about there down the back straightaway. Couldn't quite make out who it was. A black car down 3 wide just behind Neil Pearson there. Couldn't quite make out who that was, but they'll fizzle out. But you can see a lot of this field has strung out single file, which it both surprises me and doesn't surprise me, as we do have that 3 wide on screen right now. That's all at the back of the pack. 25 of Kyle Hammond in the black stealth black ride here tonight. He was in the middle of the 3 wide, but does back off, and there is still some 3 wide there. Dalton Mobley and such back of the pack.
Yeah, you know, like we said, the guys that are back there, you don't want to really be in the back right now. You want to try to get whatever you can. So,
there goes Gitter, our first dive bomb of the race.
Yeah, and he's gonna clear to the lead, and
here comes the crossover.
He's gonna get crossed over right away.
All right, it's starting early here, lap number 6, and there goes Matt Long to give the facilitation to Bobby Anderson with the draft down the straightaway. Of course, that's going to be very, very important here today. Gitter, you're going to use that outside lane and try to stay on the right rear quarter panel of Long. He will do so successfully, but look at the 5 going down to pick up the 97. Hall's going to go up top and pick up the 21. Nope, Anderson's going to go and try to draft both sides of the spectrum here. And the caution will wave on the speedway.
Tanner Marty involved.
And Van de Sant and Marty both off pace here. And we'll get a replay queued up, see exactly what happened. You can see here it comes right now. Oh, I saw it on my back end. We'll see it all together right now. Looks like Van de Sant and Marty crossed corners here. Who came up, who came down, not quite sure, but I don't think any real damage by either one. Barney may have been a little quick to press the button on that one. Let's take a look at that here. We saw that about 10 times last night, Jeff. Hard to tell. Someone came up, someone came down. It's aggressive side drafting, name of the game, and sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah, and that like you said, we saw it so many times last night with these incidents, and most of the wrecks last night, they weren't really in the corner, guy dive bombing and wrecking people. It was more so into turn 3 there, where somebody just tries to get up there, side drafts the guy a little too much, and they make contact either through netcode or one car just hitting one of them little bumps on the backstretch coming down the track, and they got together. But it looks like they're both in decent shape here, not too much damage, if any, so both getting lucky so far.
Pit road is open, and the first takers are going to be all the way back in the around the 20th spot. I think I see Rob Tracy in the 33, Randy Drumhiller, Alexander in the pits, Princeton. So I thought if we were tighter on fuel, Jeff, I thought more guys would have came in, maybe just topped off. You probably don't want to burn a set of tires here, so we only do have 6 to play with here tonight, but obviously they are comfortable with the fuel load, especially with this caution to get to that stage break.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing at pit road right now. I think a lot of guys kind of welcoming that caution right there, because under caution, these guys, under a full regular running here, under green flag running, you're probably burning about 4.5 tenths of fuel per lap. These guys have 2 gallons, 20 gallons in the tank. So under caution, you're only gonna burn, if you do a good job saving, maybe half that. So you get maybe 4 caution laps here, you're gonna save about 2 laps of green flag racing. So I think definitely with this caution, everyone should be in that window to make it. And some of them guys obviously top it off just to be completely sure they're gonna be able to make it.
And Jeff, just kind of looking a little bit forward here, how much more important is this race knowing what the next 3 weeks bring us? Because the next 3 weeks involve 2 road courses and a super speedway. So knowing that there's a lot of guys on the cut line, we don't have updated points, unfortunately, so we can't really go over that here today, but just knowing that it is inevitable. This is kind of the last quote unquote regular track, and I say that very loosely, knowing the racing we've had. But how important is this for many of these guys going into 2 really difficult tracks and a wild card?
It's definitely tough, I would say the least. Interesting thing there, because the points, yeah, we don't have a fully updated sheet as of right now, but from what I've been able to calculate myself, it looks like we do have one winner. I think it was, let's see, I think it was Blake Giglio, who he has a win from earlier in the season. I think he won the first Atlanta race this year, and he's going to be able to hit that minimum start number. But he has to get back into the top 25 in points before he can use that win to make the chase. So it's going to be interesting. Bobby Anderson up there in the lead right now. He is the first one in on points based on my chart. So these guys are going to realize that this race tonight might not be all about setups. It might be, you might be in the right spot at the right time. But like you said, going next week and the week after, 2 road courses, tough road courses, that I think a lot of these guys probably think the Aussies will contend for wins at, and then you go to Daytona, and there, anybody can win.
Yeah, so got to put some pressure on this race, because you never know when a wild card winner will come out, and maybe a road course specialist will come out and win the next 2 weeks. But we still have 190 here on the tables here today. Pace car is in. Anderson, the control vehicle. He'll have control of the restart with the Geico restart zone, and he'll get that jump, and the green flag is in the air. But unlike many tracks, sometimes you don't want to get a good jump, but I think he has exactly what he wants. He's going to get right in front of the 97. They've been working well to start this race, and they'll sail off into turn number 1.
Yeah, but Anderson obviously getting a better jump than the initial pole sitter did. He's got that teammate of Long right behind him, with now Dustin Hall and Getter, 2 Team Conti teammates lined up behind them. So a little bit of a teammate battle up front. And at a track like this where draft matters so much, if you have a teammate with you, you're going to be in a good way.
Now watch out, everybody, because John Delaney is on the inside lane. You know what happens when John Delaney's on the inside lane? We see slide jobs that define slide jobs. Well, it's only a matter of time, because we have him on board right now. He's not going to do anything. But just so you know, if you get that 6 car, don't let him have the inside, because he will.
Oh, and we have a big wreck down the back
stretch. Find a way to do something, and let's see what we got going on. Ralph Hutchison has been absolutely decimated, debris aplenty, as well as Trevor Ryan, who may have had a slightly lesser impact in that incident. Let's take a look here on the 3 wide 100%, whatever branded replay this is. And we'll find that out off turn number 2. They were 3 abreast off turn number 2. Looks like that is a slight Paul Tracy maneuver, but I don't think it was nearly as intentional.
Now it looks like the aid of Hutchinson maybe just either didn't know they were 3 wide, or maybe just the car started drifting up on them. And
I'm really good at maybe not assigning blame, but figuring out blame. And we're 2 wrecks in, Jeff, and I got to put it right in the middle. I think one could have run a little higher. I think one could have run a little lower. So that's 2 wrecks in a row for me that I'm just throwing right down the middle. I guess I'm kind of taking the easy way out here. It looked like the 18 maybe run a little bit tighter of a line than someone would expect, but maybe Hutchison arced out a little wider than he probably should have. We'll get a third view. This is the decider here. Neil Pearson's on board.
And Neil did.
Oh, he got a little.
Yeah,
kiss to the right front
he ended up
fender
with a
as well.
meatball because of that. So.
After that.
Yeah, I assume if we can, I don't know if we have a view of his right front tire, but it was definitely, let's say, a little crossed up. So probably one of those 30-second.
Oh yeah, I can see it. I'm looking at it from my perspective here. 3 meatballs. Fortunately, no pasta or sauce to go with it, but 3 meatballs. Lap 15, and kind of again. What in the world?
I went back this morning and was reviewing some of the incidents from last night's D2 race, and a similar thing happened in that one too, where someone just kind of glanced off of another car and that hood just went to the moon.
That hood just came out of the. That hood came out of the 50-cent machine at the grocery store egg toy machine, just bouncing up and down in the air like that. But neither did I. But Jeff, yes, we also said last night when we were talking about summarizing that event that most of the cautions we saw last night, we did see 6, really 4 for cause, 2 for stages. Most of them did not happen in the front. I mean, in fact, I can't remember one that did, and it does seem as though we're kind of starting this one off the same way. The guys up front, top 15, really have not been where the cautions have been. I almost wonder if the guys in the back, they don't want to be riding in 25th. They want to be riding up in the top 10. So maybe they're the ones trying harder to get to the front, and that's where the problems are lying.
Yeah, and you never want to be, at a track like this where this draft is so huge. You really don't want to be that person in the back, because if something happens in front of you, then you're kind of screwed. So, these guys are trying their best to get to the front, but at the same time, if you can't get there by passing people, maybe you just try to work out some strategy to get up there. And obviously, if you're too aggressive, you end up not being able to get up there because you're sitting in the pits with a destroyed race car, and that looks like 2 cars right now at least are going to be in there for an extended amount of time.
Yeah, they'll want to, at the very least, do the best they can to maybe they can leapfrog each other and gain a couple valuable points. So, especially like a Neil Pearson or a Ralph Hutchison, maybe more so a Pearson, who I think he could use the points a little bit more. But he's also another one who's going to be licking his chops next week, in the next 2 weeks, to try to get that ever important win. He did win Indianapolis last year. Watkins Glen a little bit more of a gimme, just because everybody knows it like the back of their hand here. But we are down the back straightaway, and 1 to go has been offered here. So we will get ourselves back going with 30 laps to go in the stage. Track temp has gone down a little bit. I'm checking it here on my back end, 111. So we're down 6 degrees, Jeff. So a little bit more grip to be had, just a little bit. But the sun has come back out. You can see here about just under 3 o'clock sim time here. The sun is playing games here. We've had a lot of cloud cover, and then the sun comes right back out. And as soon as these guys think some grip's going to come, the sun just takes it right away here. So pace car will take the lead into the pits, and let's see what happens. 5 and 97 on the front row. They want to get tag team together. A stack up there.
Oh, yeah, stack up.
Yeah, it started from, I don't know what happened with Dustin Hall to start that, but it'll conga line through the rest of the field. Hopefully everybody's okay, but we carry on into turn 1.
Yeah, it's turn 1. Obviously, midway through the field, they're kind of messed up, a little bit checked up, but they're now back going. I don't think anybody has any significant damage with Bobby Anderson just trying to do what he did last restart.
Andrew Dyson has that concave front nose. I don't know if we can get a shot, Carlos, from the back bumper of Dustin Hall. We can see the big concave damage there to the 05. But we saw that, Jeff, last night with John Delaney and a few others, and it didn't really seem to cause any damage or cause any aerodynamic issues. So I think he'd be all right.
Yeah, so I'm trying to go back and see that myself. I don't know if...
I couldn't tell if they just mistimed it or if Hall kind of checked him up, but I didn't have the audio loud enough to do it.
I see. It was one of the back netcode incidents. That's what happened right there. You'll see his car right
Oh,
there all of
yeah.
a sudden shoot backwards at sonic speed.
Yeah.
So we thought it was a checkup.
I mean, it was
Obviously
just
not.
not at fault of anybody. Just wonderful world of internet racing, as realistic as it may be. There are some inevitable moments that cannot be avoided. Just at the end of the day, it is all a bunch of ones and zeros that make up what we're doing. So hopefully everybody's able to carry on just well and fine. But for the most part, top 10 has single filed out first, double file battle right back there with Chad Gunningsman. He will actually get himself back in line. And then you can see Andrew Dyson. He's in the middle. And now that they're kind of spreading out more, Jeff, last night we saw a lot of pack racing, but where we're starting to spread out a little bit, maybe that damage is going to be a little bit more pronounced tonight than it would have been last night.
Yeah, so far these guys trying to play a little bit nicer from the get-go, getting a little bit more single file, just kind of one at a time, trying to get around people. And we talked to them, the top three last night, Benefiel, Sean O'Brien, sorry, not Jason Taylor. I always get them too confused.
Oh,
Jason Taylor and the other car that finished in the top three, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Delaney, oh.
John Delaney.
How old
And
are
they
you?
said, I've had a long day. These guys, they all said though, they thought that we were going to be a little calmer in this race today, as it is a longer race. And like they said, there's no backup net. You know, if they get wrecked, they're done. They can't go in and get a brand new race car and come out. So I'm not too surprised that we're seeing all this racing being a lot more calmer. But once we get to towards the end of this first stage, end of the second stage, and then the end of the race, I think it's going to kick up a little bit.
Like I said, I'm both surprised and not surprised. I'm not surprised because I personally would have thought this would have been the outcome. But at the same time, you never believe a driver when he tells you anything. So even though they say it's going to be calmer, I did not think it would. So it's kind of, again, I'm just stuck in the middle. I don't have any opinions today. I'm just kind of stuck right in the middle with all my thoughts here. As we're on board with Matt Long, and kind of see he's entering a little bit higher, but he's going to follow right in the tire tracks, get a little bit tight on exit, but still plenty of room to work with here. And then just behind him is Gitter, again, kind of all keeping that gap. Nobody is really trying to make any moves. I think Gitter may just be getting some clean air down there, but I don't think he's making that line work to try to make passes.
Yep, and one note that I was going to try to get in before we went green again. We saw Neil Pearson in that incident still waiting in the pit road to try to get back out on track. This is huge for him because he was about 17 points out of that cut line going into tonight. And with this bad run, or what it appears to be bad run, and with James Schofield, who was that first car in, being up there in the top 10 right now, this could be huge for his chances at making the chase.
So you're telling me the guy who is probably the second or third, one of the top three road course guys in the league, has to win a road course race, and there's two in a row.
Yeah, which obviously he's probably
licking his chops.
Yeah, he's probably not too concerned as some of these other guys are that are, 40, 50 points out.
And you know what this takes us back to? And I know you didn't call it, but you probably heard the drama of it. It probably takes us back to the Chicago street course race where his teammate, Andrew Dyson, won the race. It basically was nullified by the fact that he ran an improper paint scheme. And we're wrecking on the back straightaway. Lucas Hoytsma, rather Blake Giglio, excuse me.
And that's huge for Giglio. We were talking about how he needs to get in the top 25 points to make his win count. And now his car actually doesn't look terrible, but another incident for a guy that really doesn't need it.
So, him and Jason Taylor, and it's the same thing we saw in somebody else. Kyle Ammon, I think, got a little kiss from the front of it as well, but it was another side draft gone wrong, and we get the replay up to show it. So they're both just quarter panel game down the straightaway. There's Kyle Ammon. I think everybody else mainly got by, but again, maybe we can get a top-down shot just to argue about it again, but I'm pretty sure just a side draft gone wrong. Here's the top-down shot.
Yeah, and it's so tough because you want to try to side draft everyone every chance you get here, slow them down, try to get around them. But that backstretch is very, very bumpy. So depending on how your car is set up to take those bumps, matters how close you can really get to somebody, and obviously how theirs is. So
I got to throw that one a full-on Jedi because we saw there from the onboard, he didn't move an inch. He was kind of centered right on that seam on the back straightaway. So he ain't gonna turn himself. So sorry, you won last night, but I got to throw some shade at you, Jedi. Don't kill me.
Yeah, yeah, and luckily it looks like both cars not significant damage. Jason Taylor, pretty much no damage, but
We
it looks like the
do,
16 didn't
yeah.
really get much either now.
We do have some pit stops right now. Clayton Hoffman, I don't see any damage to his vehicle, but maybe he got a little bit in that netcode incident. Kind of hard to tell if anybody did. But there are a few takers there. Hoffman, I think, yeah, I can see it from the long shot here. There was a little bit of damage. He was in the pits for about 10 seconds, so either a very minor incident or just topping off the tank. But we have Dyson, Giglio, Steele, Princeton, Bryson Alexander, about 7, 8 guys in the pit. So that leaves roughly 17 guys who have yet to 18. Carlos loves correcting me on if I am wrong by one number, but he was actually wrong. So between 16 and 18 guys have yet to pit. We'll agree on that number. So the majority of these guys are still on their original fuel load.
Yeah, and I think a couple guys maybe top off right there. Maybe you have to take less when we do get that stage caution, but I want to say at least 4 of those that pitted right there did have some sort of damage from that earlier incident on the restart. So they've taken the opportunity now, come down, only 25 laps into this race, get that damage fixed now, then you don't have to do it at the end of the stage. At the same time, though, it puts them from the top 10 or top 12 spots all the way back to almost the back of the field, bottom 20s, mid 20s right now. So it's a risk to take, putting yourself back there. But at the same time, if that damage was affecting how your speed was, then you pretty much have to bite the bullet and do it now before we get to racing for actual points and position.
Yeah, last night was not a big fuss with getting through the pack, but again, we're already seeing that tonight's race starting off and operating a little bit differently. So, but still better to get the damage fixed and set yourself up for a good end of the race rather than having to struggle to get the last few seconds done. But we still have lights on. Let me see if we have lights on the pace car. Yep, we still have lights on the pace car. So a little bit longer of a caution here, a little bit earlier than I would normally pull somebody into the booth here. So let's just try to summarize what we got going on. So we still have, Jeff, 26 drivers on the lead lap. Jason Taylor he's trying to catch up right now. Ryan is back on track. Trevor Ryan, he's only 4 laps down, so there's a possibility he can maybe get those back. Pearson has gotten back onto the racetrack, albeit 11 laps down. And Ralph Hutchison, who has the most chronic damage, still in the pits 13 and counting. And they still have not taped the hood on that number 8. So don't know if he's going to have any last luck in this race. But let's see if the lights turn off this time by for us. Typically the quickie cautions here, so usually I think we may have gotten an extra lap out of this deal, but that will do it. So we'll get back going to green on lap number 29, which will give us 16 to get us to the stage break, Jeff. So it's a really weird call because they've been going single file. We've been seeing some calm and patient racing up front. But again, all the cautions we've seen, I think all 3 or 4 of them, have been about 15th on back. So we'll be interested to see as we get more damaged cars if that does clean things up a little bit.
Yeah, 15th on back, and like we said, some of these guys that were in that top 10 now in the back got damage fixed. How aggressive are they going to be once we get the green flag? And one other thing I think that might be noted that I don't think we did note yet today. The incident limit is only at 11.
Oh yeah,
So
we
these
have not.
guys do not have much wiggle room there with what they can and can't get into today.
Yeah, and again, we're not in tank mode as we were earlier in the season, but we've seen, as you've seen with a couple wrecks already, they would certainly count as a 4X, but they still were able to carry on and continue with the race. So if that happens more than really 2 times, really, if it happens 3 times, you're kaput. So if it happens twice, you're basically on a thin rope for the remainder of the race here. But let's try this once more. Bobby Anderson and Matt Long on the front row. You know they're going to tag team in this and coordinate getting back to each other. But John Delaney, closest he's been in the front, in the 4th spot. Green flag in the air. Anderson, we don't have a lane change rule here, so he's going to get right to the top at earliest convenience and try to sail off in turn 1.
Yep, and again, he gets a good restart, able to clear the 2nd place car. Getter's going to try to get there as he now has Benefiel on his back bumper. So again, teammates, but he'll duck in line behind Anderson, and that'll leave Adam on the inside lane for turn 3.
Pat Gitter not wasting any time here. We talked about patience. Well, let's get it now. Maybe we'll get sorted out, and then we'll go be patient, or maybe we'll race aggressively to the stage. We'll see what happens. But Gitter down to the inside. The draft help has not closed in yet. Here it comes. That's Benefiel and the white and blue car here today. A little bit different scheme, but down to the inside, 3 wide. Let's see if we start seeing the sliders that we saw last night. Doesn't look like it's going to stick down there. Benefiel's not going to be able to clear as we saw last night. There's still going to be 3 wide off the corner here. Anderson's going to take the speed off the top. Get her in the middle. Benefiel has to pull back in line, loses a couple spots.
Yeah, and just when we were saying they were getting single file and being a little less aggressive, they are making some wild moves. I think I saw some 4 wide mid-pack. So this is just like that. They decided to turn the wick up.
Let's see if Delaney, if he could pull off the Delaney yeet. I mean, it's under his name. He has to be able to do it. He's in the position to on that inside. Does he go full send into the corner? He doesn't. Now, again, the $1 million question, is the track not allowing him to do it, or is he kind of being easy on that right rear tire?
Yeah, like Carlos says, you know, right now, if you don't have much help on entry, because that's really where we saw these moves being made. You got a good run on the guy. And then on entry, you had that big run to be able to take it to the inside. And if you're not getting the pushes right now, then you're not going to have the momentum to throw it down under him.
He got a good run off of 4. He's going to get the draft. He's going to be kissing that back bumper, mutilating that back bumper. Is he going to pull down to the inside and go for it? Nope, he's going to remain patient for the time being, as is Anderson. But look at Matt Long. He's going to look to the outside of Anderson here, try to get that 3rd spot, and that outside really being favorable. Anderson a little bit loose, tried to side draft, couldn't pull him back in line, and now Anderson's super slow. Here comes Benefiel with a head of steam into 3.
Yep, Benefiel trying to take over that 4th spot.
No clear.
He will get clear right there. And now top 6 going to be single file. Looks like Mark Paget trying to get there too. He's going to get single file, and now about the top 12, all single file, at least for now.
See the 4 car, Matt DeCiani. He's not too far back. He was about a top 5 car most of last night. Never really a winning car, but he was always in the 4th through 7th spot, as we do have the battle for 2nd going on. Matt Long starting to make some headway, gets around John Delaney here, gets right to the back bumper of the 21 a Gitter, falls back in line, doesn't try to go 2 for 1. You can see those different lanes here. He's running in the 2nd lane, which is more commonly run. And then you saw Gitter right down there on the flat, and I think that's going to lead to this big run that Long is about to have.
Yeah, but he's got the run. What does he do with it? Does he go high? Does he go low? Does he stay in line? Looks like he's going to peak high, but just then stay in line. So some of these guys being a little bit less aggressive. I think the ones that know they need points, maybe not trying to put it on the put it all on the table yet. Getter obviously won. He's not worried about getting in on points, as well as Long, Delaney. A lot of these guys don't have to worry about points. They're just out here to have a good time. Now, Anderson and Schofield, 2 Dirty South teammates, they need all the points they can get, so I wouldn't expect too many aggressive moves out of them.
The multi-cam here on screen right now. The bottom is focusing on our leaders, but the top has a little bit further back in the top 10 with Height and DeCiani. There goes Van de Sant in the 96. First time we really talked about him. And then the 3 wide. There goes Giglio. Remember, he was involved in that incident.
Oh, and
speaking of incidents, here we go. Rob Tracy. It looks like Clayton Hoffman got a little bit of an impact from that. And again, another incident, Jeff, at the back of the field. And ironically enough, replay on screen.
Yeah, a lot less clean than we saw last night. A lot less racing. It's just
Maybe that was a Paul Tracy.
It was interesting hopping the front end of the car was doing there.
Now, so it was Princeton in the 9 and Tracy in the 33. Now, I hate having guys get mad at me, but that's what happens when you make an opinion. While the 33 was not clear, I am of the conservative opinion that Princeton shouldn't have forced it in there this early in the race. But that's just me.
Yeah, and I would say the admin team right now kind of agrees with you.
Are you the admin team?
No, I'm not the admin team tonight. But I would say they agree with you right now. I got Kevin Steele up on the box tonight, helping run again the races. So, but yeah, I agree with you right there. I think, we're still in the first stage here, which...
I go back to my analogy that I think I either used it last week or 2 weeks ago. If you have $11 in your pocket, you can go to Chick-fil-A and spend $10.98. But should you?
Right. And it's tough right there because, we see Tracy on the replay we had. We saw him go into the corner, pretty much clear everybody. And then he got put 3 wide and had to lift a little. And that's what allowed Brinson to kind of show the nose to the outside. But like you said, he really wasn't there. It was just, he probably could have lifted, gave him a break, but he didn't. So now we have a couple more cars with more incidents and more damage.
Somebody getting their free pass there. That's Trevor Ryan, who is really the only plausible driver that can get back on the lead lap. This will be 3, so barring any catastrophes, he might get another one in about 10 laps for the free pass. I think we may be able to have a quick word with no, we'll do that in about 10 laps here, so I don't want to go bother these guys too much because if you remember, actually, no, I think was it you last week, Jeff? Yeah, it was you last week. I think we talked to, I want to say it was Matt DiCiani, and when we talked to him, it basically broke his entire computer. It froze everything. He immediately had to go in the pits and basically retired from the race just after we interviewed him. So I guess if we speak to anybody tonight, I think maybe we should avoid. I think it was no, it was Padgett. Excuse me, that was Mark Padgett. So we'll add him to our do not interview list. Maybe if he's listening, he can chime in chat because we do see these drivers in chat quite often. Actually, surprised Benefield hasn't said something in chat yet, but let's see if we get lights out on the pace car this time. Answer is yes. So a little bit.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but we have an interesting situation here where we're going to 45 on the stage.
Okay.
And we're on lap 37. So I don't know if we saw it much last night, but I know from some races I've seen this week that other leagues that have stage breaks, you can pit and just ride around for maybe 5 or 6 laps and then stay out at the end of the stage. So I'm not sure how many guys pitted right there that didn't have damage already and needed that repaired, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a couple guys take tires, take full tank of fuel.
Only 2 drivers to pit were Dustin Hall and Clayton Hoffman.
Right, and Clayton did have
he got damage
there, so we could see it though. There's never.
Oh yeah, Clayton still has. His left front is definitely not pitched properly here. Definitely a little aero damage there, but if he can survive for a few more laps, he'll be okay. And I guess this just puts back to the age-old dilemma at a super speedway: how important is a stage win? Because if a stage win has the possibility to take you out of the race, is it really worth it? But for many guys, especially who need the playoff point, they want that seeding. It is. But you do have to consider that there still is 160 plus laps in the race. But we'll try it one more time. Pace car pulls in. Long and Gitter on the front row. Delaney and Benefield row number 2. Green flag back in the air. Looks like Gitter got a good jump with the assist from Benefield to the outside lane. And looks like both of them will just about clear the inside lane into one.
Yep, and right there, just the two teammates lining up, trying to work their way up there front. Got Matt Long trying to stay on that inside, see if he's going to duck in line. He does off turn number 2. And Delaney will be right in behind him. So Delaney, Getter, and Benefield, those are 3 that we saw battling for the win last night, and they are right up front already here tonight.
Yes, they are, and you can see him Gitter really seeming to like that yellow line as opposed to running the second lane, which is a lot more common here at Michigan, but must have a little bit better feeling down there at this juncture in the race. But you can see here on this shot, going all the way back to Brandon Pierce, the bright green-yellow car, 15 spot, top 14 cars, all single file. Then you have a little bit more, actually, they're all going to start fanning out now, just as I say that, of course. Bobby Anderson the inside. Looks like Blake Giglio. He's going to go from wreck to top 10 here, maybe even kissing the edge of the top 5. He's currently 7, making some headway and making some serious headway. Look at him just driving on that outside. He actually has fresher tires. That will explain most of it.
Yeah, we had one big wiggle mid-pack there. Mark Paget was right around 10th, and he almost lost the car coming off turn 2. He checked up a bunch of cars.
Delaney not
like
quite
that.
doing the yeet, but he did
He tried to send it.
A baby yeet. So we're going to have to ask these guys on the stage break if some things are different today, if they don't have the confidence with the grip levels, because I would have expected to see it at least once so far. I really haven't seen it full send. Here comes Matt Long inside of Delaney. We're also not seeing guys run against the fence as much as last night, so definitely some changes to be had here, as we do have 5 laps to go for our stage break here, and top 2 trying to have a little breakaway of sorts by a few car lengths over John Delaney. Delaney's going to send it in there, get right to that left rear quarter panel of Benefield off of 2. Benefield gets a little bit wiggly there, but here we come and see if he can get a run on the leader here in turn 3.
Yeah, this is a tough call here, coming back to 4 to go with the stage. If you're Adam, do you want to win the stage? Would you pass your teammate to win the stage and possibly end up costing both of you spots if you guys get side by side and slow each other down and let somebody else by? It's going to be questionable, but you said it about a lap or 2 ago. Blake Giglio is all the way up to 4th now. He was spun out earlier. We didn't have much damage.
Delaney and Benefield doing what they did last night, which is testing the laws of physics and netcode here within inches through 1 and 2. That's going to let Gitter pull away by a few car lengths here, but Giglio giving the shove to Benefield on the back straightaway. Should he eat into that gap rather quickly?
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see a little bit of what we thought was going to happen, what we thought could possibly happen after last night's race, and just like that, they're starting to door slam a little bit. They're starting to lean on each other, and they're starting to go for it as we only have 3 laps left in the stage.
Well, think of it in this context, Jeff. Once we get to lap 75, it's the same distance as last night's race. So at that point, I guess they can go crazy the whole time and get away with it. Here comes Delaney into the inside of of Giglio, excuse me. He's looking to the inside. He's not going to draft with those fresh tires. He's going to try to pass them. And it looks like he's going to try to go 3 wide and try to go 2 for 1 here. Giglio try to go to the top. Delaney's going to try to go to the bottom and put Benefield in the middle. But they're all going to keep momentum. So wiggling going on off of 4. Giglio and Benefield have a push. Benefield going to stay and give that 21 a shove and try to keep that 16 from getting the stage.
Yeah, looking back on last year's results for this race, Adam was the one that won it. And he didn't dominate, but he was the one that ended up winning it. So out of the top 10 or so right now, he was really the only one that finished towards the front. So, Giglio finished up there in 8th, but otherwise, none of these guys were really up there. So Adam really likes this racetrack. It's up to his driving ability with how loose you have to drive the car to be fast.
And Gitter is going top to bottom. Elevator move, white flag for the stage here. We'll take the stage once the 10th place car crosses for lap 45. Gitters definitely has the lead, but not for long. Benefield has a car leg to the inside. Benefield super slideways off the corner. That's going to cost him multiple spots here. Long's going to split the difference. Long's going to go 3 wide all the way down the back. Here comes Giglio pulling to the inside. Enter in turn number 3. Giglio, he's going to send it on in there, and he has the tires to do so. So Giglio is going to clear with ease. And Blake Giglio is going to go from wall to stage win here and take the playoff point.
Yeah, that's huge for his playoff standings. As we keep saying, he needs to get to that top 25 bubble, and with multiple guys missing tonight, obviously Damaris Hickenbottom not here, Chris James no longer in the league, I think, Dalton Mobley not having an awesome race so far tonight, Trevor Ryan has wrecked out tonight, for instance, towards the rear. These 10 points, if he can continue to have the run he's having, could mean a lot to him.
Yeah, definitely very well could here. So what we'll do here is we will let these guys make any pit stops that they desire. It will be interesting for Giglio because he's at a negative in the tires in the tire book right now. Remember, we got 6 on the wall, and he's already used 1. So at some point, he's going to have to break even. Unless this race stays green where it doesn't really become a full issue here. But we're going to catch up to that pace car on the back straightaway. And once they have their pit stops here, we'll try to grab a word here with our stage winner. And we'll see his thoughts because I'm very interested, A, if he has any damage still, and B, if he is at all worried about that tire situation.
Yeah, at this point, like we said, you had so many cautions in that first stage that you could maybe roll the dice there and try to take tires to move up. We had 6 sets in the box tonight for these drivers to use. And like you said, first stage, you could make it without having a pit. Second stage, once we go green here, I think we're going to probably go green around 50. We're probably going to need 1 pit stop there, as it'd be a 70 lap run to the end of stage 2. And then you're going to have to pit at least once in that last stage 2. So these guys probably have about 2 sets of tires to play with. And right there, like you said, Blake decided to play with his, and it ended up with him winning the stage.
Yes, it did, and we would assume he has most of his damage fixed, but maybe he has a couple more seconds to do. We'll see if he does choose to do it, if it is indeed applicable here. But everybody coming on in, don't see anybody who has remained on the track, which is would be a very interesting call if they were to do that. But 4 tires going on everybody's vehicle here. And let's see who comes off pit road first. It's not going to be Giglio. It's going to be John Delaney getting off the pits first here. But even though the pit stop didn't go maybe to plan here, let me see if I can find, we'll go to LMM here. And let's go talk to our stage winner. All right, Blake, Corey, and Jeff in the booth. You got us, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Well, maybe the pit crew didn't work too well for you here today, but you went from wall to stage win here. First off, is there any damage still on that 16? And are you worried about having 1 less set of tires on the wall?
I don't think there's maybe a little bit damage on 16. I don't think it's going to matter that much. I mean, the tires, we might be down a set. Crew chief, we got Robert on the box, so I have good faith in him, his calls, and hopefully we can continue to stay out of the wall and up front.
Yeah, hopefully that is the case. Now, D2 last night was a show. These guys seem to have a lot more grip. Seems a little bit more slick here today. Is any of the information you were maybe told based on how last night went? Has it changed up with the track temp here today?
Yeah, I think tonight's a little bit more slicker for sure. I think it makes it more into the driver's hands. But I think it's going to be a good race here to the end, and hopefully we can, like I said, stay up front.
All right, man. I know you playoff points are very important, so we'll see if you can get some more. We'll let you get back at it. All right, so maybe a little bit of damage, and he has the confidence in his crew chief to call that race appropriately. And again, I have to remember last night, Jason Taylor, he accidentally got off sequence. He came in, he was going to use his fast repair, and he meant to uncheck the tires. He didn't mean to change tires, and he did, and he batted that whole race from behind on the tire set game. and it managed to still win the race. So don't have to worry about that. And Adam Benefiel is ready for another exciting race. YouTube chatting and driving from the 4th spot.
That takes skill, I will say, because I can hardly even type and drive. So
Now, if he can do it the next 2 weeks, then that's worth the playoff point by himself. Texting and driving on a road course, that takes skill. I don't know if I want him to try that, but just for saying that, I'm sure he probably will. But let's get going for the next stage. This stage will be a little bit longer here, so we will be stretching ourselves to lap 120 now, so a 70-lap stint to the next playoff point and guaranteed caution. But now John Delaney has the lead with Gitter to his outside, entering the restart zone, getting on that loud pedal, and let's go try this again for stage 2. And look at the jump that Delaney has. Where was Gitter on that outside lane?
yeah, he got going very quickly. Kind of got multiple guys, it looks like, sleeping. And he will easily have the lead off turn number 2, but what kind of run will the two Team Conti guys get on him going down the backstretch?
No, those 21 and 83 have been hooked together here, and you can see here that run, not quite bumpered game, but they're definitely drafting together and closing on in. Now it's only about a car length and a half in the different lanes here. Gitter has been right on that yellow line, one of the few to be wrapping that line by choice, and it does cost you a little bit of momentum on the exit and down the straightaways, but you gain a little bit through the corners here. Entering turn number 1 right to that back bumper, and he's going to try to go high and take a look on Delaney that way. He won't make a look, but let's see if he can get the run and do something with it down the straight.
Yep, they're racing hard for the lead, but just like that, we have another championship implications issue. Sean O'Brien, internet issues, not dropped out of the server yet, but he is already now just dropping. He's already 2 laps down. He was on that cut line, 40 points up, so this is going to be huge now for him. We have had so many issues for these guys close to the cut line tonight.
Yeah, Sean O'Brien plus 42 on the day with Neil Pearson behind him. Pearson having his issue, so that will negate some of it. But you have Schofield doing well in 4th right now. You have Paget, who's in 16th, but still a ways to go for him. So definitely going to make things more stressful. And you can answer this better than I do, but my original assumption doesn't take SOB as a road course champion.
And no, not from my vision of how he's been able to race, but the toughest part for him, yeah, he was 15th on that cut line.
As of New Hampshire, anyways. I don't have
no, as of next week, last week at Richmond,
okay,
I did the math myself. Worked it out well, so he was 42 above that cut line going into it, 15th in points. The main deal with this is that wasn't counting Blake Giglio as a race winner, because he's not in the top 25 as of last week. But if Giglio continues to have as good of his run as he has right now, he might be in that top 25 after tonight's race.
There's definitely things to cause you to shake up here. And look at the top 3 racing as if this is lap 197. There's not an inch to be had between the 3 leaders right now. Entering turn number 1 now, Delaney will give Gitter the opportunity to enter the corner here successfully here. He's going to drop on back and maybe see if Benefiel will pick him on up here. Head down the back straightaway. Here comes the run. Oh, here comes a slow car there down to the inside.
Hey, that's Sean O'Brien. Don't call him slow.
Oh, well, I mean, facts aren't offensive. They're just facts. But they will kind of fall back in line here. So get a little chuckle here from that one. Matt Long, yeah, that one could get me a lot of trouble in the real world, so I should stop saying that one. But Andrew Dyson to the inside. Chad Gunning's been here. And then just in front of that, you have Bobby Anderson side by side with Blake Giglio here. So the side by side starts around that 6th spot. And you can see them standing about 2-3 wide here. Dyson all the way down to the flat in the orange car.
Yeah, these guys are trying to get all they can. You know, one thing that I haven't seen much this week in officials, and I know we didn't see last night, is many cars breaking away from the rest of the field. I know last week at Pocono, a couple weeks ago at Pocono, we didn't expect to see anybody really break away from the rest of the pack, but we ended up seeing that once guys got together and decided to stay in a straight line and drive away. So I don't know if that's kind of what the top three are kind of feeling right now. Maybe they're thinking if we just stay in a straight line, we can try to drive away and we'll be able to worry about the stage by ourselves. But so far, nobody's been able to really get away from the rest of the field.
I saw Dyson there at the back of the shot there in the orange car. He was throwing us off there with the blue car last night, back to his traditional orange ride here tonight. He sent it on the outside by himself. And one of the things we were talking on last night, Jeff, is he didn't come into the mix until the very end. Dyson really did not. He had the speed, and we know he has the skill, but he was very conservative in his efforts. And it makes you wonder if he's going to have that same strategy here today of try to get to the end and battle then rather than staying in the Hornet's nest longer than he needs to as Delaney takes another look.
Yeah, you know, it's tough to say where the Hornet's nest really is. I had to try to just how hard they're racing. There you go, exactly. So, you know, we've seen hard racing up front tonight. We've seen hard racing for 25th. I think, you know, you have an opportunity to get swept up in something no matter where you are on the field. Obviously, being the leader is a little bit better, but I think all these guys are kind of on their tippy toes, just hoping that they can continue and not have any issues tonight.
You're going to see the little line changes at play here. Then our race leader, Pat Gitter, running about the third lane. And Delaney wrapping the second lane. Again, maybe I think that's just to kind of get some clean air to the nose, not overuse the tires by running in the dirty air. So I don't think they're making any passing attempts here. Of course, in the real world, I saw what they did. They put a ton of resin on that top lane. Of course, we don't have that, although it has been working here, as we saw last night. Bobby Anderson has been one of the busy ones here on the evening. He's down to the inside of the back of the shop there with Blake Giglio. That is for 7th, but the top 10 really have fizzled out. And I'm scrolling through the rest of the field here, Jeff, and it does appear most of the guys, even in the back of the pack, at most 2 wide, as you can see here on screen, Chad Gunningsman and company. 2 wide at most. We're not seeing any 2-3 aggressive wide racing, kind of just single file, double file sporadically. So I think these guys are starting to slightly calm down. I say ever so slightly, given what we have on the bottom of the display.
Yeah, and as you say, as we have a little bit of a calmness right now on the track, I do want to give a big congratulations to Alex Murray. We see him every night, and we have, I think, his significant other always in the chat rooting him on. They just had a child this week, so congratulations to them. Hope everyone is doing well there. And we hope to see him out here next week, but obviously family, a big important thing right now.
Didn't Gitter just have a kid too?
He did, so I guess it's the summer of 100% baby.
How did he get permission to race a week and a half after having a kid? I didn't get that for like 3 months.
His wife loves him very much, I guess.
Alex Murray, he's watching live, and he says he'll be here next week, so you guys get some really lenient partners to let you race with a newborn this quickly. So really, a guy's doing something right here in that category here. Look at Derek Heitman. He's got himself in the mix here in the 3rd spot, not wasting time to the outside of Benefield, who's getting a push from Diciani there. And just behind that, you can see that's Jim Schofield, one of the ones on that cut line, making his presence known here. So what are we talking about? Single file and patience. Leaders all over the place. Gitter going elevator move top to bottom. Delaney looks like he's getting a little feisty there in 2nd.
Yeah, we're closing in on lap 65 here. We just passed the halfway point, technical halfway point, as we're going to 120. So we're getting into that window where if you want to pit, I think you're going to see a lot of people start pitting around maybe lap 80-ish or so would be a safe place to pit. So I think a lot of these guys are going to try to drive whatever they have right now, get the spots they can, and then once we get it about 15 laps or so, that position, I think if we can get green flag pit stops, it's going to be really interesting.
And being lap number 15 into the stint, and we're kind of using 40 to 45 as our fuel range here, and that would put us right around lap 100 or so, and with the stage being at 120, I mean, do you want to split it and go at 90? But it also makes you make that decision of, is it going to go green? As here we go, 2-3 wide. I would assume not at some point, but they did it this most last night, Jeff. But we also talked last night about Michigan being one of those tracks. You cannot pit here and stay on the lead lap, so you will go a lap down, roughly by about 10 seconds or so, if you pit. So it's not a super easy decision as it was at the Pocono.
Yeah, and I don't want to point out the obvious, but as you said, 16 laps into this run, if we can go about 45, we can only go about another 30 laps. So about lap 90, I think, is what most of these guys are going to be able to stretch it. If they can get to 100, that'd be interesting. But
oh yeah, math is not my strong suit here.
No, it's fine. So like I said, though, you might see some people pit a lap or two early. We do have about maybe a second and a half worth of fall off at least. By most of these guys, if we're gonna run a full run. So, a second and a half worth of fall off. If you can pit with a teammate, get out there and quickly get out in the draft, you could probably gain 3-4 seconds on people, and that's where we could see a breakaway.
Yeah, currently I always find the leader is the best one to gauge the fall off at these draft tracks right now. And the best lap overall for the day for Pat Gitter is a 38.89. Last time by, he ran a 39.45. So right at about 0.6 of a second. Of course, there is going to be some really fast draft laps thrown in the mix. So I always find the leader is the easiest one. That's last time by at 51. So again, right around that half second. And he's really starting to experiment running the top of the rubber there, Jeff. So maybe on this slick track condition, sometimes that rubber gets a little greasy. So sometimes running out of the rubber actually finds a little bit more grip up there, but when you find more grip, usually that means a little bit more tire wear as well.
Yeah, and as this track gets rubbered in, last night, we had about an hour and then qualifying, so the track rubbered in, I'd say almost 70% by the time we ended up going green. Tonight they only got a 30-minute warm-up, and it was a rather clean track, so I think at this point of the race, we're starting to get that point where your car is going to start changing how it's handling. It's going to get tighter here as we see Trevor C. Ryan coming down the pit road. He had that damage from that second big wreck. But as we do see the track get rubbered up, I think some of these guys might start struggling with a tight condition. Right front could start going away from them. And the worst part about this track is usually if you're tight in the middle, you're going to get pretty snappy loose on exit.
Have all that wheel into it, and as soon as it bites, and you go right around. Worth noting for Trevor Ryan, he was a wave around on his last stop. Remember, he was 3 laps down. He took a wave around to get down to 2. Fortunately for him, didn't get that quick yellow, so he had to pit for fuel. So he'll go back to being 3 laps down, I would assume at this point. But I'm very surprised that Delaney has had the patience to stay in second. He's all over Gitter again, running that different lane. That different lane he's running gives him a really good momentum here. And you'll see it here on the onboard, down the front straightaway rather. He's right to the back. He could easily pull to the inside here, but he's going to give him a shot. You'd hope he'd back off. And he hardly backs off there. You can see right through the center. Maybe he gives a little bit more space, but here comes Benefiel. He's looking to the inside. He's going to try and get there. Can't quite. He'll drop back in line, but again, top 3 separated by a millimeter.
Yeah, I think all these guys right now kind of just giving each other room, being a little bit respectful. Not even at halfway in the race so far, so a lot of racing to go. It's not really a good idea to put yourself on somebody's bad list this early in the race.
Just behind that, we saw Blake Giglio, who's still after his stage. He won the stage, didn't have the best pit stop, and fell back to 3rd. Well, now he's kind of settled in right around 5th. He was battling there with, I think that was Matt Diciani and Derek Heitman there. But Bobby Anderson there, the Kellogg's ride, worth noting there. He's dropped back to 11th. He was one who led some laps earlier in this race, and it seems as this run goes on, that Kellogg's machine is just slowly a spot or two falling back here in this lead draft.
Yeah, and he's right where that first main gap is really forming between him and then, I want to say it's the top 10 or top 9 We're getting about a half a second of a gap right now, so maybe those guys trying to drive away and be able to worry about stage points. You wouldn't really have to worry about them if you could get away from 10th place.
Kyle Ammon is actually the one right in front of Bobby Anderson right now. And Kyle Ammon, I don't remember which one it was, but he did encounter a little bit of damage in a wreck down the back straightaway at some point or another on that. It looks as though an unsponsored number 25 here tonight, at least nothing on the hood. Usually it's days gone by, but I guess they ripped the stickers off. Maybe they were unhappy with his performance. Not quite sure, not trying to stir up drama, but it is a very unsponsored here. Number 25, so maybe we could draw a happy face on it, put something on the hood. But either way, he's having a solid run there in the 9th spot. See if he can continue on with that effort. Just scrolling back a little bit further, you can see Alex Van de Sant in the purple and white car. He's to the inside of Andrew Dyson, who, and I think, showing the patience right now, just kind of riding along there in the 12th spot. We'll look at him starting to spice it on up right in this pack as well. A couple guys going side by side.
Yeah, and this is, to my knowledge, I think the longest green flag run we've had. Not the longest we've been on the same tires, but longest green flag run so far. We're getting in on around, I would say, what, 28 laps maybe, roughly. So this is that point where if someone's car isn't going to handle well in the long run, you notice it, and you're probably sitting there in the car going, I need to get by this guy. This guy's holding me back. We got to hurry up. I'm going to lose the draft. So obviously some of these guys struggling with handling conditions on the older tires, begging for that caution, but we still have at least 12 or 15 laps before we're in that fuel window.
Yeah, we're at that point. I mean, assuming we haven't had a caution since the last pit stop, which my memory doesn't go back that far, we're at 26 laps into the stint right now. As John Delaney to the inside of Gitter, and he will clear for the race lead off corner number 2. It was only a matter of time. He was starting to get feisty there, and replay on screen, I think, of that pass for the lead, I do believe. You can see he had that draft down the front straightaway, and every other time he stayed right in line. This time he said, nope, going for it. And I'm not going to call that the Delaney yeet. He just kind of drove it on in there, and I think Gitter just backed off and let him in line.
Yeah, and this might be the point where, like we said, on older tires, as you're John Delaney, you might be thinking to yourself, maybe I want to see what my car is going to do.
Neil Pearson in the pits. Is this strategy, or is this schedule? No, he's 11 laps down.
I think he might be rejoining the track right now. I think.
Yeah, 11 laps down. So.
Right. So he was on pit road.
He's no longer.
Only 11 laps down, but he's, I would say, unless some unforeseen circumstances happen, not really looking to get too many spots. But you never know. We could have a large accident that takes out a couple cars, and for him right now, every point matters.
Yes, it does. But of course, he has two of the best opportunities straight ahead of him with a wild card super speedway. So anything happens in the next 3 weeks. But currently right now, John Delaney leading this race down, and I think this may be as good a time as ever before the next set of pit stops. Carlos, let's go quiet and turn up the noise, bring up the noise, bring the noise, something, whatever that's called. So they have clearly decided to bring the noise themselves here. I don't know if anything's going on there, Jeff, but something has turned up the intensity to a tenfold here. Gitter took the lead back from Delaney. Now Benefield decided to make his presence known. He's in the race lead here now, and then the 76 of Heitman. He's to the inside of Gitter as Gitter's starting to get a little free on that outside lane.
Yeah, and you're starting to see guys who really weren't pushing too much early on in this stage, kind of maybe saving some tires there. Obviously, the top three have basically been the top three for the whole stage so far, but Heitman starting to try to make moves. Matt Long, again, he was faster in that first stage trying to make some moves. One name we haven't really talked about tonight, Matt Desiani back there in 7th, right at the tail end of this straight line. So some guys maybe were taking care of their tires, going to try to make use of them before a lot of these guys are going to pull it down pit road within the next 10 laps.
Well, we're here lap 32 in the stint right now, and here comes John Delaney again to the inside of Benefield, entering turn number 3. That's been the easier turn to drive to the bottom and complete the pass, but he's not going down to the yellow line. And again, I think that may have to do with the increased track temp here. Slicker conditions, can't make the aggressive moves we were making last night. So a little bit more conservative of a pass, but he is making it successfully. See Giglio there, the Pepsi car. He's trying to get himself back into the top 5, battling with Desiani, and that's Matt Long. Kyle Amon there just behind, and different lines at play there. You can see Desiani trying to use that 3rd lane there. Looks like Giglio struggling to the inside by himself, gets back in line.
Yeah, but I'm hearing I'm hearing 92, 93 right now for a lot of these guys. So we're gonna have to wait and see. We're getting a little bit more gappage in this top 7-8 battle, and it's a tough deal because this pit road is extremely difficult to get on. You know, some of these guys not running heavy braking packages just because you don't, you know, you may stab the brake a little bit on entry depending on how your car's handling for you, but you're not using it consistently like we were last week at Richmond. So when these guys go to get on pit road, you're going to be on ridiculously slick tires, worn tires. It's going to be pretty easy to lock those brakes up and possibly spin. So, and it's again going to be a cat and mouse deal here. Who's going to pit first? Who's going to try to follow? And if someone tries to follow late, we could have an incident.
And this pit road, it's hard and it's also easy at the same time, because in the sense that it kind of teases you, because the line here for the pit road speed limit is a few hundred feet beyond the wall, or it's pretty far down. You have that little road and then it lines you up to the wall, so you have a little bit of a space to play with here, and it really teases your aggression level. Do you want to be conservative and get every last ounce, or do you want to be a little bit more conservative and maybe it costs you on the racetrack here? So a lot of speeding penalties sometimes do happen here at Michigan. And then of course you have to wrap the inside until turn 2 on exit. Again, more time to be lost or had there. But see, it looks like we have again Anderson. I talked about him. He's dropping back now, back to the 10th spot. And now we can kind of see some more breakaways. Andrew Dyson, he's lost the lead draft. Him along with Van de Sant Paget, Steele, and Gunningsman. There's a little 5-car breakaway, about 11th to 15th, as somebody just peeled off down the back straightaway there.
Yeah, we had a couple things just happen there the last couple laps. Dustin Hall got high off turn 2. He hit the wall pretty significantly. And something we saw last night, there he is, our winner from last night, Jason Jedi Taylor. He's short pitting. He pitted at lap 80. So he is, you know, going to be able to make it to that 120 mark for sure. And he is just mowing these guys down. Lap times, that last time by. Exactly. You know, the leader ran a 40.1. And it looks like Taylor ran
39.4.
Yeah, 39.4. So 7/10. That's a huge amount on a big track like this. Obviously, once these guys pit, we're only probably going to have about a 20 lap run to the finish. So if he can get a decent gap here, he might be in a really, really good position.
Up here we come. Here's a lot of takers to pit road this time by lap number 85. We have Benefield, Delaney, Gitter, Heitman, and Giglio. Most of our heavy hitters up front come down to the pit lane. It does give the temporary lead to Matt Long In the 97, as you can see there on the top of the shot, that is Jedi Jason Taylor mowing through the field, trying to get as many positions as he can. Wants to get back on the lead lap, which I think he is at this juncture if caution did come out untimely. But let's see if Matt Long in the 97 wants to pit this time by, doesn't want to sacrifice old tires any more than necessary. Here comes the 97, along with Diciani, Anderson, Schofield, and basically everybody else who didn't pit.
Yeah, and like you said, speeding penalties is a big thing here tonight in checking up. I know on one of the cautions earlier, we almost had a pile up on pit entry, just people checking up a little too much, almost got into each other. And with that short incident limit tonight, you can't afford to take a 4X getting on pit road. So some of these guys, we're going to have to see what they're going to do. Right now, it is 33 to go in the stage. So I wouldn't expect anybody to take 2 tires, but you never know. Somebody could make that decision and either benefit or very much lose out.
Kyle Ammon, who took our race lead momentarily, he comes down, and now you have Steele, Gunnigsman, and Drumhiller. So more or less, just about everybody has come to the pits. We are just waiting on the top 9, and I think Princeton will be one of the last few to come out.
Yeah, tough deal right there.
Overshooting your stall. Another thing to do here at Michigan, where it is a faster pit road speed in relation to a lot of other tracks, it is a little bit harder to stop in the box. So not a surprise to see that. I know at Daytona, I always overshoot the pit stall at least once over the course of a race. So not a surprise here at these bigger tracks with a faster speed limit.
So right now, it looks like Jason Taylor is going to be about 6th place. He falls in line behind Blake Giglio, who lost a whole bunch of time to that top 4 of Delaney, Adam, Getter, and Heitman. And this is going to be interesting to see if these guys can chase him down, or if this 4 is just going to stay together, stay in a straight line, and then race it out when we get closer to the end of the stage.
And for Giglio, he must have had a slow either entry to the pit lane or a slow exit on the apron through 1 and 2, because I'm looking at his back end numbers, and his pit time and his pit lane time from cone to cone was comparable to everybody else. But again, running that apron there on the bottom of the screen right now, you can see it running on the apron. That takes skill, and that's not numbered. That's not measured. So some of the guys just have a little bit more confidence and can run that apron faster on the outlap.
Yeah, it definitely looks like that's what happened. He lost time on the exit, and then getting into the apron, he lost probably at least 7 car lengths to that top 4. So like you said, this is a tough track to get on and off pit road on, and you can either gain a lot of time or lose a lot of time, depending on how well you do it.
Now Clayton Hoffman and Alex Princeton, 41 and 42 laps into their pit sequences, so they'll be down any moment now. And then our leaders in the form of Delaney, Gitter, Benefiel, and Heitman, they are all in one big train there. That's a Dyson who is just behind. However, Dyson is not a part of that tandem. Let's see what happened to him. He is in 14th position right now, but he is on the, trying to figure out why. No, I'm looking at the wrong pack right now. I'm confused. Yeah, everything is normal. I, for some reason, thought Bobby Anderson was higher up than he is, but yeah, Dyson is in 14th spot. I, for some reason, thought Dyson was one of the, Anderson was one of the leaders, but remember, he has fallen back. I think that 5 is losing a little bit of pace as this race continues. But Hoffman right now, Jeff, 44 laps. So we always have one person who kind of lets us know the absolute maximum on the fuel load. And it looks like it may be Hoffman this time.
Yeah, right now it looks like, Hoffman and Brinson, both of them got in that accident together, I'm pretty sure, down off turn number 2. So their races, they both have damage still. They're kind of in a bad spot. They were mid-pack, maybe in the mid-20s. Might as well try to just throw it away here and see what you can do. Maybe catch a caution. I think the longest they're going to be able to go is maybe 95, Hoffman. 96. So
Hoffman is down this time by, but Princeton is still on the racetrack right now, but he only actually has an 8-second lead over the guys who have to pit. So he's gonna finish this one out well, a lap down by quite a ways. Looks like Hoffman did overshoot his stall, just to add insult to injury. But our race leaders right now coming off turn number 2 right now. 4 guys under a blanket. But you have Giglio, who's running by himself. You have Jason Taylor running by himself. Basically everyone kind of like a super speedway right now. Just have packs separated all amongst the racetrack.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it was all packed up for the most part until the last 10 or 15 laps before people pitted. But once they pitted, I think we knew that there was going to be a breakaway. You know, on track, regular full speed, I don't think it's going to happen. But with how comparable these guys are, you know, everyone can get on and off pit road differently. Some might be a little bit more conscious and careful getting in pit road. They don't want to wreck their car. And that can cost you more than 2 seconds, as we saw with Giglio. About a second and a half, I think, off that top right now.
And unfortunately for him, he is struggling to close in. Currently running about a tenth or slower rather, a lap than the guys in front of him. And now Princeton, again, still on track on the bottom of your shot there. And he's on lap number 46 now of his run. So again, most of this being under the green flag. So he is really pushing the fuel number here. But again, the leaders are the ones behind him on shot right now. You can see almost some 2-3 wide racing on top. That is the second pack, 9th to about 14 spot. But with how slow Princeton's running right now, he's going to lose the lead now. So once he pits, he's going to be almost 2 laps down.
Yeah, and I think he might be coming down right now. No, never mind. They're just passing him. Yeah, it's a tough spot for him because the other option he has right now, you know, if you don't want to go 2 laps down, maybe you do two tires. You know, shorten your pit stop, try to get out as fast as possible, only lose 1 lap, and then try to get the wave by at the end of the stage. It's a tough spot to be in right now. We do have 1 car. Rob Tracy had some issues on pit road. He went a lap down, so it's going to be interesting to see how this stuff works out. Looks like Clayton Hoffman will rejoin about 26 seconds behind the leaders after staying out the long as he did. So
here comes Princeton finally.
All these guys that need track position, you know, they're in the back either because of issues, damage, or their car is just not handling the way they want it to. They're going to have to try things, and just like that, it looks like what Jason Taylor tried of short pitting everyone is not going to work out for him, as he's going to drop out of the top 10 here in a moment.
Yeah, his lap times are struggling in comparison to those around him. He's about a half second slower, so I think the detriment of having a higher track temp, slicker conditions, the same tire calls and strategies, just not going to work here in tonight's efforts as they did in last night's efforts. So 22 laps to go in the stage, and we do have so the 23 on the lead lap. Clayton Hoffman last on the lead lap, 25 seconds behind our leader, 39 seconds around this place. So I mean, there's a possibility we might actually get some lap traffic before this one's over with.
Yeah, and it looks like Princeton's going to end up 1 lap down to these leaders. So, and not terrible right now, at least for him. Rob Tracy in that 33, though, right on his bumper. So we could have a little bit of a battle for that lucky dog, but at the same time, I think Princeton with the much fresher tires should be able to hold on for it once we get to the end of the stage.
Yeah, he will have that advantage of about 10 lap fresher tires than anybody else, or rather about 8 laps, something like that. So he'll have a little bit of advantage over everybody else, so he should be able to gain and keep that free pass spot. I don't think he'll be able to unlap himself. He's a little bit too far back for that, but either way, he should be able to recover. Just in front of our leaders right now is that's Trevor Ryan, who's been trying his hardest to get that lap back. He was 2 laps down. He was 3 laps down. He went back to 2 laps down. Wave around didn't work. Went back to 3 laps down. That's where he stands now in that number 26. So he's still chugging out there. Maybe hoping for some attrition, a little bit more cautions, but he is doing the best he can at the moment. Blake Giglio will be trying to maybe use him as a little bit of a drafting aid as Giglio falls back in that 5th spot. But showing a little bit of patience for the top 4 right now. Benefield, Delaney, Gitter, and Heitman. I think they know there's not really much to battle for right now, but I think maybe once we hit maybe 110, they're going to have a fun little battle between the 4 of them to end the stage out.
Yeah, they're being smart, like we said earlier, just kind of staying in line, trying to drive away from everybody else. And then, like you said, once we get to 10, maybe 5 laps left on the stage, that's when you start making moves. You don't want to start making moves too early on before the end of the stage, because you never know who's going to be able to catch you. I know Giglio, I don't really think he has much drafting help at all there, so I don't know if he would be able to catch them if they started racing hard, but if they started making contact, anything's possible.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think we're at that juncture, in the race right now where everyone is, I talked about it, they're buying laps. They're biding time. They're just getting through this, dare I say, less meaningful part of the race. The longest stage of the race, I do believe, or close enough to it. We went 45 to 120, so about 75 and then 80 to end this thing. So right around the last stage 2, stage 3, right around that same distance. So just kind of buying some time, and where it is only 4 of them up front, they can wait maybe even till 115. I mean, there's only so much battling that can happen with 5 guys. It's not like there's 15 guys in this pack and you have to make your move early, Jeff. You can, with 4 guys, there's only so much to be had. I mean, heck, they could even wait till 116, 117 and start shuffling if they wanted to.
And I think one thing that's tougher for these guys right now, that maybe if they didn't run too many races officially this week, or didn't run D2 last night, well, it wouldn't have mattered if they ran D2 last night. They only have 4 cars, like you just said. There's a lot less energy in that pack right now than there was when there was 15, 20 cars in it. So some of these guys might be thinking, maybe I need to make that move early, because I don't know what type of run I'm going to be able to get. I don't know how much the draft is going to really help me with such little cars in the pack. So if you're Adam, if you're Getter, they're 2 teammates in the middle of that sandwich right there between Delaney and Heitman. I assume if Adam makes that move, Getter would go with him. But like we said, you never know. As we have an incident on the backstretch, it looks like Trevor C. Ryan had a fender fly off turn 2. I don't know if we're going to get a debris caution.
Oh yeah, he is decimated there in that number 18 car. I do see debris, but that is not an issue that iRacing cares about yet. He just had the hospital wobble there right in front of Chad Gunningsman. And
he had just pitted too. We just saw him coming down pit road. So
his fender did have the decency to go on to the apron there. So, and he is that right front. I mean, I know they say having some camber is good, but I think that may be a little excess.
Yeah, and as much as some guys might think, oh well, yeah, but we got the damage fixed. Here we go. We see what happened with Ryan.
Yeah, he was already loose, and I don't think there was any contact. That's called the hospital wobble there.
Wow.
And that debris aplenty.
Obliterated. And then refixed itself.
Yeah, the wonderful world of internet physics there, but looks like the debris has been picked up by the fastest track crew in the world that is not deeming of any safety standards there. So we have a clear track, and it always reminds me, Jeff, back in the day when the new damage model first came out, you actually were able to hit the debris, and it actually had legitimate effects there on the car, but because of the internet world, they didn't have to get rid of that. But that was fun times while it happened.
Yeah, one thing that I think a lot of these guys that have had damage, either today or just the last couple weeks, one thing that I know a lot of guys have complained about is, we talk about meatball flags. What a meatball flag means is you have required damage. Once you stop in your pit stop, you can't move until that number gets to 0. And if you stay out for 3 laps and do not respect the meatball flag, they will DQ you completely. So a lot of these guys, you hit the wall pretty hard, that right front gets knocked in, you only get about 30 seconds of required damage. But when you go back on track, your steering wheel might be at, 9 o'clock to stay straight on the straightaway, and you destroy your right front tire in about 10 laps. So as much as you don't want to go laps down and you just want to get back on track to save every spot you can, sometimes you can't, just because of how much that right front just is dead and hurts you.
And required damage, the meatball flag is kind of to emulate basic safety standards that would be applicable in the real world. NASCAR will require you to have a rear deck lid on. They require you to have the hood fastened in a safe manner so it doesn't fly up, that you don't have any leaks. So that is essentially what the required damage is. It would be things that just basic entities to make sure the vehicle is safe for competition. Everything else beyond that is considered optional. Technically you can break a toe link and it's not an eminent safety thing. It just means the car is not going to handle very good. So that is where you have to get that extra damage fixed. But you can see our top 4 here. They are out by almost 4 seconds. Now remember Giglio, he was in the middle of just nowhere, kind of running by himself. He was swallowed up by that second pack, and he's actually dropping back through it. He's lost a spot to Van de Sant and to Diciani, actually, as well as Matt Long for that matter. So that 17, our stage 1 winner, he got it on those fresher tires, but he's losing spots left and right here. Van de Sant getting by him right now, as well as Dyson. So he's going to lose some of those critical stage points if he keeps dropping spots.
Yeah, and it was tough for Blake because when he came off pit road, he was by himself. There was no one around him to draft with. So he was probably just driving the hell out of that car to try to save as much time as he could, and most likely ended up using up his tires compared to the other guys that had the draft to pull them along.
Yeah, exactly that. And, we'll see if he can hang on. But again, the top 4, as we predicted, just running single file. They don't, with the only being 4 cars, I don't think they're under any serious rush to get up there. And all of them, I believe, asterisk, are race winners this season, or are just very well locked into the playoffs. So I don't really think there's any big rush for them to get these points, or they're not going to wreck themselves for these points, knowing that everybody's already in a good spot.
Yeah, and we start to look at things such as regular season points. I'm pretty positive that the top 10 pays out points at the end of the regular season. So Lucas Hoytsma coming into tonight had that points lead, but not here tonight. John Delaney was second, about 60 points behind him, or 70 points behind him. So it's a good opportunity if you're Delaney, get the stage points. Hopefully win the stage right here. You're going to get a playoff point. You're going to get more points to gain up on Lucas. So even if these guys have wins, they're still racing for stuff. Every point matters once we get to the playoffs. And if you have that one extra playoff point, that could be the difference between moving on to the next round or getting cut.
Exactly that. And if I talked about this last night, but with a different audience, I'll bring it back up. I always have an adage here on plate tracks. I call it being intensely boring at a plate track. You're side by side. You're fighting the wheel. You can't make mistakes. But at the same time, mentally, you're not really doing that much. I kind of akin a lot of that to this right now. As a driver, do you keep focused when you know you're not really in a rush, you're not really trying to do much? How do you keep yourself focused when you're kind of just, running a very black and white race and not really going out of the box for the time being?
It's tough. I won't lie. I've had a couple races in my time where, you're sitting there, you're running laps, you're logging laps, and then obviously it's not as bad as that as an Atlanta or Daytona or Talladega, but at a place like this, it's pretty easy to overdrive the corner, either on throttle on exit or getting in the corner. So if you're Derek Heitman right there, you're at the back of this line, you drive in the corner and you push a little too tight, it'll be easy for you to lose that draft. So you can never really give up, or not. I don't want to say give up, but stop paying attention to what's going on with 6 laps to go on the stage.
Sometimes people will, at a Benefield, they'll pull out the phone and goof off. You'll have a snack, you'll grab a drink, and then you slowly start to lose that time. You start to lose that focus in these green flag races that definitely can play dividends. But Luckily, these guys do have the opportunity in about 5 laps time to reconvene and group back together for the final run to the checkers right now. So it does look like Delaney is getting a little bit feistier right now. He is all over the back bumper of Benefield once more.
Yeah, Adam made that move coming off turn 2. It looked like Getter was right on his bumper. He shoved them all the way down to the inside lane, and Adam was able to clear John, but Getter obviously didn't follow through. So, you know, Adam back out front now, Delaney in second. We're coming. That was 5 to go in the stage. So the question now is, these guys have been able to feel what their car is going to do in clean air on older tires. They know what they got. Who has the better car out front is the better question.
Well, look at the run Delaney just got off of 4 there, but he's going to choose to just keep the momentum in line and give a push.
And we talked about this last night, and I asked you, and you gave the genius answer that ended up being the correct answer. At the end of this stage, coming to the last lap or second to last lap, you know, do you want to be the car in the lead and have to make those blocks, or do you want to be the car with the run trying to pass the guy? And you said you wanted to be the third place guy, right? So its question here is Getter just kind of sitting there going, maybe they'll get together and I'll be able to steal a stage win? Or is he trying to drop back a little bit to try to get his own run?
Well, the only reason that worked last night, and even go back to the original Kyle Busch example, is they were all under a blanket and they were going so hard, blocking each other's momentum down, and they just forgot about third place. And hey, we're slowing each other down. Third place is going full send, and he's just going to have the speed to pass us both. But the thing with smart guys, as Delaney puts himself in the fence or off the corner, didn't lose any speed somehow. Don't tell me how that worked. But the thing with these guys is they ain't dumb. They ain't going to make the same mistake twice. So you do know that when it comes down to it, if it is the same people involved, I don't think they're going to let lightning strike twice. I think they're going to play the defense and allow that not to happen, as here comes Gitter to the inside of Delaney. But I personally, I still want to be the race leader, and I want to be the one playing defense into 3, because if I play good defense into 3, especially with the track conditions here today, I don't think they're going to do what they did last night. I don't think it's on the table as much.
Right, and as you see Adam right there, you know, some may say, oh, he's trying to break the draft. Some may say, oh, I want to try to keep the 2 guys behind me side by side, so I'm going to give one side draft, give the other side draft. I think he's more so trying to help his teammate down there. Patrick Eddy, you see in the corners, he's drifting up, giving him clean air. Down the straightaway here, you'll see him drop down in front of him. And just like that, we have 1 lap to go in this stage as Benefield tries to run away from the other top 4.
Yeah, about 3/10 of a second, and getting a big gap as second place is side by side. Last night, we saw Delaney shaking and baking here, trying to purposely almost slow it back up to get some competition and to make it fun. Well, that ain't going to happen today. It's not about fun today. It is about fun, but it's about winning and beating the competition in a very competitive environment. And that's what Benefield's going to do right now. We'll see how the battle shakes out for second, third, and fourth. Looks like Benefield will get stage 2 rather easily, and it'll be Delaney, Gitter, and Heitman your top 4, and then 5th is going to be Matt Long.
Yep, and as they come across, there goes top 10 spots. As Barney will wave that yellow flag, it'll be our 6th race, caution of the race. Adam Benefield, though, able to get that extra point
8/10 of a second that he had as a margin there. That is the biggest lead we've seen in, what is it? We're about almost about 300 laps into covering this weekend, Jeff, and that's the biggest lead we've seen thus far, is what Benefield has had.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that, because for the most part, we didn't expect it. But then once they got side by side for a second, like I said, he was playing that give you a little bit of air, give you a little bit of air kind of games to those 2 behind him, and them being side by side just slowed him down so much that he was able to get away from them a little bit at the end of the stage.
Indeed the case here. So we'll expect a full set of pit stops. So what we will do is we will let these guys go ahead and make their pit stops as they come down the back straightaway into 3 and 4, and then We'll have a chat with the interview king himself, Adam Benefield. I think Jeff will give you the honors and the entertainment this time by. But let's see how the pit stop sequence goes. They expect foreign fuel from everybody, maybe some damage repair for those who have had some issues here in the race. And of course, we'll have one more pit stop beyond this, but let's see what happens if anybody makes mistakes and if everything goes smoothly.
Obviously, everybody coming down pit road, like you said, 4 tires, full tank of fuel. We'll go green with about 75 laps to go on the stage, which is pretty close to what we had for the second stage as well. We went green around 50, had to go to 120, so about 70. This time we'll have 75. And we'll have one
Delaney
more
may
pit
have
stop.
overshot his stall there. Saw him
I think
back
a couple
up.
guys did there too. So old tires not helping.
So let's see who's going to win the race off pit road. It's going to be by a whisker. Get her by a whisker there. We'll get it. Stage winner is not having the best of luck here on pit road, but let's go ahead and get our stage winner queued up here, and Jeff will give you the honors.
Hey Adam, it's Jeff and Corey in the booth. You got me?
Yes, sir.
Well, Adam, we haven't seen exactly what we saw last night in D2 today, but you know, similar racing to what we had, big draft packs. You guys were able to get away after the pit stops. How sleek is the racetrack tonight, and is it just not enough grip to make those moves we saw last night?
No, I mean the car's good. I mean, track's fine. I think really we're just all being a little bit tame right now. We kind of, that pit stop sequence right there, we had John with us, so I kind of shot him a PM and told him what lap, and really wasn't expecting to have that big of a gap, but with it only being 4 cars, I guess we were able to get in and get out a lot better than everybody else. But I think that the energy's about to ramp up here in this 3rd stage, and you'll start seeing a little bit more what you seen last night. So put the popcorn in the microwave and kick your feet up.
Sounds good. We'll get to that now. I already got my feet kicked up, so hopefully everybody else will too. And hopefully you'll have yours on that loud pedal once we go back green. We appreciate you talking to us here, and hopefully we'll talk to you at the end of the race too.
All right, we'll see y'all.
I don't have any popcorn. However, I do have Cheez-Its. Hopefully that does pass the test here. But we are on.
I think Dummy moved himself instead of me.
Do Cheez-Its pass the test?
Cheez-Its work.
Okay. Actually, I think that may have been me. Sometimes I yeah, Jeff, I think I may have given you the boot, but whoopsies.
Aaron,
It made for entertainment, so that's all that matters. Yeah, that's what we're here for.
I thought I was getting replaced by Adam, which I think would be interesting to have him on a full broadcast, but we're back and we're getting ready for go green here.
Yeah, I think that maybe Mooncar is hiring. I think Benefield may suit the bill for that. I don't know if how well that would work here, but it would be entertaining. We can all agree on that. But he's going to be on that outside lane, get her to the inside. Row 2 will find Heitman and Long. Let's get ready. Stage 3, 150 more miles on the books here, and let's go race them. Green flag in the air, stage number 3.
Clean restart all the way through the field, no checkups. Significant checkups at least. Getter going to easily jump up in front of his teammate. They're going to be 1-2 down in the turn 3 with Heitman to the inside of Long for 3rd going through 1 and 2.
Now you heard Adam say he thought that he thought the track was very much available to do the same moves we saw last night to provide the same racing, but the drivers have tamed themselves here. So when does the governor come off the drivers, and when do they allow themselves to go flat to the floor and make those aggressive moves? You can see Delaney there running the bottom here, and we are waiting on the Delaney yeet, because once he does it, everyone's going to do it. And we're wrecking
Oh,
the
and we
back.
got a big wreck.
That's Drumhiller around middle of the track.
Multiple cars getting disqualified for incidents. This is huge.
I think Clayton Hoffman incidented it out there.
Hoffman and Pierce, and then Brinson gets another big hit right there. That's
Oh, that's another. We'll get replay queued up here, but I'm going to give a preface to you, Jeff. I think it's the same time we saw that. It's another.
I don't even know what that was. Those guys were side by side.
2 cars, 1 spot.
It wasn't even like, you know, the guy was, oh, I was almost clear. They were side by side.
Yeah. See it, Mobley to the top, Drumhiller in the middle there. You know, the spotter is going to make the call. I can't make it. I might need one more look at it, but as it stands now, I can't make it.
Yeah, they got really close off the corner, and they might have gotten a little bit stuck together.
I think netcode is like there may have been a foot, but the contact was inevitable. But I'm gonna put more of it on the drum hammer. But again, it's just one of those 50-50 deals. We've seen many of them here on the evening, and unfortunately, I think Hoffman out. I want to say Pierce out as well.
Yeah, he is also out.
I didn't see Pierce be involved in anything here tonight, but clearly he was.
Yeah, I think he got part of that big issue on the restart, and then I think a Phantom X in one of the other accidents. But it looked like him and Clayton saw that move on the inside lane. They saw the hole, and when they got there, the spot was closed. I don't know if we could get a in-car maybe from that 38 car of the restart, or of that caution, just to see what they saw in the window and see how bad it looked. But this is, you know, it sucks right there because you're losing another 4 cars, I think, between damage and incidents. So the field is definitely starting to get thinned down, I think.
Yes, it is, and I think you ask, you may receive here. We got an onboard Pierce.
You see smoke, and then you see a car. It's just...
Oh, yeah, that was... But the thing for him is when you're in those positions with no incidents or very, very minimal, you could just drive it through the grass and be fine. But when you're on that tight of an incident, you know, teetering line right there, if you will, you can't go in the grass because that's going to get you out of the race as well. So really a no-win situation.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's tough because you don't know what you want to do. You know, in my opinion, my experience in the league when I've been in that position where you don't have many incidents at all to, you know, deal with, you might want to run more towards the back and just kind of finish and hope other people have issues. But obviously here tonight, not really in that spot. And we'll have to wait and see now what these guys are able to do. For the rest of this race, you know, some of these guys' championship implications, obviously not for Pierce, as he's a decent amount out on points, but, you know, Clayton obviously as well has wins. He doesn't have to worry about it, but those guys getting out of this race gives Sean O'Brien a couple spots to gain. So every spot matters for O'Brien. Every spot matters for Neil Pearson, who I think is still in the server.
Nope, he is
Oh no,
not.
he has left too. So those were spots that he could have gained
Of drivers off the lead lap, the ones that are currently driving would be SOB, who has just jumped to the top of that spectrum. And then we have Dalton Mobley and Alex Princeton, both 3 laps down. So Dalton Mobley and Princeton, they will surpass Hoffman and Pierce this time by, and then SOB will be the beneficiary of any lucky dogs to come. As we are on 1 lap to go. So it'll basically be roughly 20 on track for 70 laps. So in terms of iRacing, gotta pretend that this is maybe an A open. That's what we got to finish this one out.
Yeah,
that's what I used to do when that's what I used to do when I used to do the full length NIS races. And he'd just be like, "Oh my God, this is a long race." And then once he got to like that distance, I'm like, "All right, it's only an A fixed left from here. Let me just reset my mind." And then the race doesn't seem like it's that long. So, in that context, 70 laps, 1 pit stop. We'll see what you can do in a short little stint to the end here, but it'll be another front row consisting of Gitter and Benefield, Long and Heitman in row number 2 here. And let's see what happens. Pace car is in for our 7th caution of the event. Gitter's going to go early on the Geico restart zone and get us back going here at Michigan.
Now those guys will go side by side for the 3rd spot. The front 2 again getting single file as the teammates are. And it looks like Heitman's going to try to follow him single file, but not going to make it happen. Matt Long is inside, followed by Delaney behind him. And Alex Van de Sant trying to make some noise up there in the top 10.
Yeah, Van de Sant had a very backwards starting spot there, 28th. I think he took a provisional actually to get into tonight's effort. So now he's got himself there in a solid run in the 6th position, just ahead of Blake Giglio, who won our first stage of the race. And see up in front here, Benefield is kind of running right on the quarter panel of Gitter. Now they've been working together very, very well, as you would expect for team members here this early in the race on Conti, and they've been to get Gitter running a top line, Benefield running a bottom line, giving each other the air they need, and then reconvening back there on the straightaways.
Yep, and it's questionable of what these guys want to do now, because we, as we see 3 wide back there, we saw some hard racing early in the race, then kind of went single file. Right now, looking like we might be going back to going single file. But it's a really tough decision because, we saw how much of a gap those guys got on the pit stop. So if you don't stay up with those front couple, it'll be easy to lose that front group of cars once we do have to pit, if we pit under green again. And then you'll basically have no shot at winning this race.
Yeah, very difficult decision to be had here. Still see that 3 wide there in the back of the shot. That's Dyson down there on the flat in that 12th spot. Now they're double filed up, pace lap formation there for about 4 or 5 rows deep with Anderson there, who's now out of the top 10. Again, continuously dropping back there in that Kellogg's car, ball that's front 10. Kind of almost running a Dale Jr. line now, almost running the higher lane here around Michigan, 2nd, 3rd lane, single file, and then back up to the wall. And Van de Sant will be the first one to break that trend there in the 96, trying to pull to the inside, I think, of Dustin Hall, who's had a pretty quiet run. Don't think we've talked too much about him here on the evening in the 1 car.
Right, and Dustin, remember, has won the last 2 seasons, I think, at Auto Club, which is the sister track to Michigan. So
R.I.P.
Yeah, rip the Auto Club we knew and loved, but he likes these 2-mile tracks, and he's gonna try to make some noise here late in the race.
Well, let's just be real. Let's just rip Auto Club altogether. And in most every drought, that's Gunnick's been having some blinking issues there. Let's be real with each other. I think everybody kind of knows this at this point. Auto Club's done. They ain't doing anything with it. They just don't have the guts to publicly admit it, because they haven't even touched it yet, and they didn't redo the domain. So rip Auto Club Speedway, but at least we do have it in the virtual realm. But look at them getting spiced back up here, and looks like Bobby Anderson, we've talked about him dropping back. Well, a lot of times when I say a guy is slow, he instantly starts to make some moves, and look at him do the Delaney yeet there. He gained about 4 spots, pulls 3 wide to the inside of Delaney and Giglio there. The intensity starting to click up here with 65 to go.
Yeah, these guys are obviously racing the hell of each other like we saw last night, making moves when they get the opportunity to. And it's similar to a Daytona or a Talladega where, if you're the only car that pulls out to pass somebody, you're probably going to lose spots and get freight trained. That's the situation we're in right now. You see John Delaney on the bottom, going to try to get up. He's not going to be able to in front of Desiani, and now he's going to try back on the bottom. But right now, if you drive to that bottom lane when the top gets bogged down, if you don't get an opening, it's very possible that you're going to drop outside the top 10 very quickly.
Indeed the case here. Now, of course, we went green, Jeff, with 75 to go, so not a full fuel run, maybe fuel run less 10 laps, about 33 laps probably. You could split the gap here to finish this thing out. So that being said, can you run a little bit harder on the tires, knowing that you don't have to take them all the way to the end if indeed we do keep this green?
It really just depends
Oh,
on...
no, never mind.
Scratch that.
Scratch that logic. Commentator's curse. Paget.
Oh, another playoff contender.
Kyle Ammon is out, incidented out.
And we are losing cars left and right here.
The Drumhammer had some hard impact as well, but he still had some incidents to spare here, as we will get a replay queued up here in a jiffy here. But that 0-2, really hard lick there. Let's see what happens here. I might attribute that to Netco, because that car got loose with not really any contact overly visible there. Let me see if a different angle will answer any questions we have. Yeah, maybe that was a checkup between the 98 of Gunnigsman there. So Giglio kind of checked up a tiny bit, and then Van de Sant reacted, and I think by the time it reached Gunnigsman and Paget, a little bit over of a reaction there, and maybe Paget turned down a little bit, and just enough there. Kyle Ammon, T-Bone took him out of the race, and I think that may be the 5th instant retiree of the evening. And Kyle Ammon's another one who's a straight shooter. He tells you as it is, whether it's good news or bad, and he's in the infield care center, so I guess we'll find out. All right, Kyle, Corey, and Jeff in the booth, you got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Looks like you incidented it out here, if we saw correctly there. It's been kind of a rough one here, mainly in the back of the pack. Looks like it's been a little bit of a hornet's nest, and it bit you here tonight, man. Just kind of talk about what was the final dagger.
Yeah, well, the first 2 daggers were just plain out stupidity from other guys on these restarts checking up, and then the side drafting, 10 laps into the race, and harpooned some guy in the left rear when he spun down the backstretch, and then whatever happened going into 1, just could not avoid it.
Yeah, it seemed that way. Like the top 15 or so have been relatively clean, but the back of the pack has kind of been where the issues, the side drafting, as you said. But all in all, I mean, was it fun? I mean, in D2 was an absolute blast everybody had, but were you at least having fun when it was not going astray?
Yeah, we had a stupid fast car. Just I had something to compete with, maybe a top 10. I don't know if I could have got the top 5, but definitely compete for inside the top 10 comfortably. Just circumstantial stuff took us out tonight.
All right, and the next 3 weeks, a bunch of wild cards. We got 2 road courses and a super speedway to round out the regular season. What are you looking forward to, if anything, out of those next 3 weeks?
2 road courses, I'll be eating ice cream and just trying to survive. The super speedway, we're gonna play poker and just go all in.
All right, well, that'll be fun to watch. Unfortunately, me and Jeff won't be able to watch it because we'll be down there live for the real thing, but we'll wish you luck, man, and sorry it didn't turn out tonight.
Oh, it happens. Part of it. We'll keep being stupid and coming back again next week.
All right, man, take it easy.
Yep.
Kyle, as I said, he's a straight shooter. One to go. One to go here at the Michigan Speedway for the Motor City 400. Of course, Michigan known as a manufacturer's headquarters here, so all these manufacturers do enjoy getting the wins here in Michigan. Down to 1 race a year, Michigan has actually been thriving, Jeff. Since they cut down to 1 race, this place sells out. The atmosphere is electric. Almost seems like these tracks do better when there's only 1 event a year in the real world.
Yeah, these, stuff like this, we just got to really just get down. And I know the admins right now kind of getting on the mic saying that, just, let's try to finish this race. We had a couple cautions to start the race with guys just really overcrowding each other. And then we went green for that whole second stage, I'm pretty sure. I don't think we had any incidents in there, or at least cautions there. So now we've started this stage with 2 cautions pretty quick. So hopefully these guys are able to get their stuff together and get going, as we now have 7 cars out of this race due to either damage or incidents. So, and other people very close to that now.
Yeah, we have a lot of guys here on incidents who are probably teetering here on another 4X. So don't want to have this out on that kind of attrition note. So hopefully, as you said, the everything does fizzle out and we can get some good clean racing to solve this out for 120 more miles. Green flag in the air. Gitter and Benefield will lock bumpers as they have done many a time, and they'll sail it off into one. Long and Heitman will go side by side for third.
Yep, and most of these guys up front, they know what they have. They know what like Adam said, they're giving each other a little bit more respect than they would normally if they didn't know who they were. So I don't want to say it's surprising, but Matt Long being up front like this, we haven't seen too much of that the last couple weeks. He's been a good car, but not up here battling for wins. So nice to see him up front. See if he's able to close in on the top two. But right now you got two teammates, and they're probably not going to give up on each other.
Yeah, Matt Long, he's been very good at certain tracks. He's had a lot of long run speed at many tracks, and I don't think this track really will be the definitory factor of having a long run car. A lot of luck involved, but definitely having a good car will help as he's right to the back bumper of the 83. Ran a high line, got that momentum down the straightaway, but chose to keep it intact and keep it in place for the time being. Delaney running a little bit lower, but again, I think this is what we saw on the long green flag run. They'll fan out just a little bit through the corner, give each other a little clean air, give each other a little space, reconvene back on the straightaway. And with still one more pit stop to go, how early do you want to pull the trigger and start to do the final craziness of the race, I guess, Jeff?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough decision. At a track like this where I know I want to pit with someone, if I'm not on comms with someone, I know like Adam said that him and Getter, and he told Delaney when they were going to pit. If you don't know when people are going to pit, you basically can't really risk being out front, in my opinion. You got to be sitting. You want to stay with those guys, but you don't want to be ahead of those guys because, say right now, I know it won't happen, but say Getter's the leader right now, and Adam Long, Delaney, Hall, Desiani all pit behind him and leave him out to dry. He's now all by himself out there running slower as a single car. So if you're me, I'm sitting maybe 5th or 6th right now. I'm not going to push it too hard to get by people just because we have that possibility of a green flag stop.
Yeah, I personally I'm going to take this exactly as a plate race, and I'm going to say that because you can go up and down so quickly on the scoring pylon, like you kind of said, I want to stay in this draft. I want to stay in touch, and then I don't want to go for it until after that pit stop. But again, that is under the assertion that it happens under green, which we have had one set of green flag stops here today, something we haven't seen a ton in recent weeks, but good to see it at least once here on the evening as Delaney to the inside, maybe losing some spots there with the draft, and got guys using that outside lane a lot more aggressively at the moment. Dustin Hall, who is hanging on there in the top 5, hasn't really made any really good shots for the lead, but that one car, he's right there in the mix, and could very well be plausible he could take this one away too.
Yeah, and it's, you look at the field right now, you have Getter and Benefield, 1, 2. They've been up front almost the whole race. Then you have Desiani and Hall. All those guys are associated. They're all with that EPI group. And I know from officials this week, a lot of people are talking about shops and teammate and how they work together. So if you get 4 or 5 guys that are on the same team that work together, that are in communications with each other up front, I think it's going to be extremely hard to pass, 1. And 2, they're all going to be on the same exact book here when they want to pit, and then when how hard they're going to get on, where someone's going to go if one car wants to go all the way to the bottom. So I think the field right now has to do their best to just not let those guys get locked up, as now we're wrecking.
That's Matt Long, and I didn't see anybody else get affected by that. A very good evadance.
Kevin Steele might have got a little bit of it there on the rear bumper.
The most important part was no incidents out there, no incident caps, at least visually. But let's take a look at the replay, and I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to take a guess at what happened without even knowing. I'm going to say it's side draft gone wrong, but we'll see definitively.
Yeah, you see right here we come off
Derek
the corner.
Heitman got a lip from this as well. I think we'll see this on this top-down shot. Move trees, get out the way. There we go. Yep, side draft gone wrong, and then look at Heitman. Heitman got probably a 4X from that as well. Maybe Steele.
Another incident that we see down going into turn 3. We've seen so many like that, either between tonight and yesterday. It's
Okay.
just they get close and they start wobbling, and then they wreck.
Yeah, Kevin Steele did get pancaked against the wall there.
Right there, we saw the camera got pancaked as well.
Yeah. Luckily, we do have high-quality cameras here that do not go out, so we will still have this view for future usage. This is on board with Kevin Steele from the Apex number 7 mobile, behind Anderson and the drum hammer.
I don't think he'll have much damage here. Might come down just to take it, check it. A
saw the
lot of
left-
cars coming down though here. Not gonna sure if we're gonna see tires or just fuel maybe.
This is going to be 52, so this is well out of the stretch unless we have a wealth of cautions to end this one out.
As much as I don't want to say this because I'm not sure what these guys are running for gears and such, it's possible. I don't want to say it could happen.
Well, to quote Kevin Garnett, I
It's
suppose
possible.
anything is possible here. So
I know in officials this week, there were some people that were able to stretch it without cautions, just straight green flag run, over 53 laps. Playing with the throttle and worrying about draft, and then even clutching later in the run. So it's possible.
We will see if that's possible. But where we are kind of on a little bit of a caution spree, we're going to take this opportunity to step aside for a minute or so, and we'll be back with you for the restart. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
We are back, getting ready to go back green here down into turn number 3 under caution for the 9th time today after an incident on the backstretch into turn number 3. Couple cars came down pit road, about half the field I would say left on track, came down pit road right there, topped off. Some even took tires, as we did have a couple extra sets with only 50 to go. I don't think they're gonna be able to make it, but the possibility is there that they could. So we'll have to wait and see if we stay green. As the pace car drops off, Getter on the inside is the leader. He's in control, and his teammate Benefield will be on his outside as we get the green flag.
Back in the air here at the Michigan Speedway, Getter in Benefield as the field's starting to thin out here. As more and more guys are kind of driving on the incident edge, but up front, I think they are well and clear of all that. Getter and Benefield get themselves situated into line here, entering turn number 1 and 2. And it's just going to be a matter of time to see what's the aggression level behind. Do we still have pit stops? We still have some pit stops guaranteed. We have some pit stops plausible here. And of course, are we going to finish this thing or are we going to have more yellow flags? So a lot of things here at play in the last quarter of this race.
Yeah, and we're seeing guys up front right now, like you said earlier, some guys that don't have to worry about playoff wins, and some guys that might have to. You know, Dustin Hall obviously has a win. He's fine. No problems for him points-wise either. Giglio, we've noted multiple times, has to get back up to the top 24, and with a couple incidents tonight with the drivers that were ahead of him that have had wrecks, he can be in a spot if he wins tonight.
Which he's trying to do right now. Look at him go for the lead.
And look at who's in third. Going for second, last night's winner, Jason Taylor, Jedi Taylor. Out of nowhere, we have not seen him up front for a long time. And all of a sudden, he's going to try to get second from Dustin Hall.
Now, worth noting, they are 14 laps into their current stint. Presumably, that would be tires. You have Gitter and Benefield, who are 30 laps into their run, and everybody else is on freshies from that last caution. So a lot of different tire strats going on right now, and somebody got really loose there on the exit of the corner. I think that was Giglio. There goes Dustin Hall to the race lead, and here comes Jason Taylor on the inside. He's going to try to send it to the inside. Can he clear? He's trying to do the Michigan sweep here on the weekend, and that 41's going to go ahead and lead the lap.
Jason Taylor, man, he has had the moxie this weekend. I would say that. After last night's win, we saw the excitement as he was doing his burnouts, and we heard the excitement in the interview after the race. So he knew after last night's race he had a fast car, and he's showing us again tonight too. that he
give the shot to Hall there after the crossover. I thought he was going to go back to the inside, and no, he just gave a shot to that one. Now he's going to go run the Harry Gant line against the fence, which has been working. But look at John Delaney using the inside. He's going to clear Jason, and he's going to pull right to the back bumper of that one car. Making down the front straightaway here.
These guys are racing extremely hard up front. Back to what we saw towards in that first stage there, where these guys are just
contact between Hall and Delaney there, and we've seen many a time Delaney and Benefield did that all the time last night, and they managed to do it. They know the physics of the net code and what they can get away with doing the door slamming here at Michigan. It worked. And you can see there in the long shot, they're fanning out behind. You have Pat Gitter in 6th, Van der Sant, Tanner Marty in the top 10 right now. Benefield all the way back to 9th right now.
Yeah, when they were making contact for the lead, we saw contact between Giglio, Getter, and Matt Destiani, who's now going for 3rd. They made contact at the same time, but obviously didn't slow him down. I thought maybe we could get a little bit of a breakaway, but that whole pack of about 10 cars are right with each other within about a second of each other.
So Benefield and Gitter, again, they are the oldest tires of anybody on the racetrack right now. Starting to pay the price. Benefield struggling at the end of the top 10 right now. And again, he is absolutely guaranteed 100% will have to come to the pit along with the company of Paul, Giglio, Taylor, and Marty. Most everybody else, like you said, there's that plausible possibility that they can make it to the end, Jeff. And if you are in that plausible possibility, should you be racing aggressively now? Should you be trying to, just add a little bit of padding just to see if you actually have to do that, but you have enough?
Well, if you're one of these guys that stayed out, obviously they can't make it. Like you noted, they're going to probably be able to, or have to pit with about 15 left in the race, 15 to 20 to go. They're going to have to pit. But I've been watching a couple of guys towards the rear of the field. I don't know if we can get an onboard cut to Matt Long. He's clutching, going in the corners, 18th position right now. He did pit when we had that caution. So he is, let's watch the RPMs there as we drive down in the corner. Right there, clutch. Yep. Or the car's shut up. He's not in throttle. So he's doing that move that we said, trying to save gas and trying to maybe pull one out of the hat.
Now, where did we see that? I think it was Nashville, memory serves. Was it Giglio or was it Hoytscomb? One of the two of them won at Nashville on the fuel strategy, and Adam Benefield was not very happy because he had the car, he didn't have the fuel, And well, tonight, I think it's kind of the same situation. So for him, he's actually hoping for a caution, as long as it's not him. But let's give some credit where credit is due right now. Tanner Marty in that 29, I think he was involved in maybe the first or second caution of the race, got the repairs done, pulled off the strategy. He's on the strategy. He will have to pit, but either way, one of the best runs we've seen out of him, keeping the car as clean as he could. And somebody having problems.
Alex Vandesen, once again. Technical issues, hearing that maybe the screen had some issues, and he did what he needed to there, almost coming back on the track, but, you know, slowed down the best he could, getting in the corner, went all the way down, went through the grass, and luckily no one else, any issues with him, no damage, but he is obviously off the path.
Whenever that happens, a lot. You know, when it happens for me, the screen goes black, you have audio. So what do? I turn left, I hit the brakes, and I try to press the button on the voice comms and say, I don't know what's happening right now. And you just hope that something is getting transmitted and that your maneuvers are not hurting anybody. So unfortunate for him. But again, Tanner Marty, wanted to just give credit where credit is due, having a good run there. Hopefully commentator's curse does not ruin it for him. But Dustin Hall leading with Matt Diciani in second. Diciani would be the highest up of the drivers, who is on the plausible strategy now, but he is running the most aggressive of them. So is he throwing that out the window? We don't know, because you have Matt Long all the way back there in the second pack, who is trying to do it. So again, a lot of stuff to kind of have fizzle out. But there is kind of a point of no return, isn't there, Jeff, where if you're going to do it, you have to plan it early. If you're not going to do it, you race it from the very beginning, knowing that it's not in the cards.
Oh, definitely. And especially on how close this was. You know, and I'm hearing on the radio right now that we might got cars coming down pit road this lap. So these guys know they can't make it, and they might be making the call early to just come down by themselves.
Gitter, Dyson, and Benefield all down the pits. And this is a risk, because this is at the beginning of the fuel load. Remember, you go a lap down here at Michigan. So this is a big risk, in my opinion, to go this early, just in case something happens. But they have the confidence in this thing going green, and they want the fresh tires as early as possible. They did a good job getting in the box there. Dyson may be a little overly conservative. I'll see if he can keep up with them. But everybody else on track, and we'll see if that starts a trend.
Yeah, and this group, you know, we make a point about getting on and off pit road. Adam said it during his interview there. They got on and off pit road very cleanly, and that helped them get away from the rest of the field. Maybe that's what the idea here is. You know, now, you know, you get on pit road by yourselves. You don't have to worry about, you know, any other issues. You got the fresh tires now, and then you can just go race it out. So we'll see. It looks like they're gonna merge right around that front pack. So
Dyson 2 tires on that stop, Jeff. He got out with a 10-second stop. I just went back and looked. Only the right side jack went up. So interesting call there for Dyson. That gives him a lead over those last two. But and he is technically still on the lead lap with the leaders in tow just behind him.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see how this plays out. You know, obviously for him, I think he came down on that last caution. So for taking 2 tires, you know, we're easily in that window now. Taking 2 tires, topping off on that gas, it gets you a lead. Like you said, it gets you a lead. And it might work out for him, it might not. You know, we saw earlier in the race, Jedi Taylor tried to do this short pitting strategy, and it obviously fell off for him pretty quick after about 15 laps. So the tough deal, I think, for Adam and Getter at this point is you're now stuck with the front pack. And since you're with them and they're on somewhat similar tires, at least, you know, some of these guys are on newer tires, are you going to be able to really gain time on them at this point, or are you just going to log lap with them?
Well, you want to get ahead of them, because you want to get your lap back the old-fashioned way. If caution does come out, you don't want the free pass. You want to be on the lead lap the old-fashioned way, which is why Adam Benefield is driving so aggressively right now on that inside lane. And If he can get by, maybe he can lead this train. You can see Gitter's just back in tow. Try to get their laps back the old-fashioned way. Be ready on the tail end of the lead lap, and if anything, that might help out, Diciani, and just give a little bit more drafting help, which may let them roll off throttle more and keep that time built up. So there goes Benefield, and we'll see if Gitter can clear, but Jason Taylor is also in the pits in the number 41. And he overshot his stall getting word, so that is not going to help him out. He's going to be pitting by himself and at a detriment from having that mistake.
Yeah, the pitting by himself there is really the biggest deal there. Now, one thing I want to note that I was kind of talking about earlier that we really didn't key in too much on, or I didn't think about it at the time. The brakes aren't something you use here very often. You know, you're not using too much brake, if any, on the racetrack, kind of just letting the car fall into the corner. It's possible that Adam and Getter and some of these guys, maybe they set their brakes up just for pit road, and that's all they're worried about. And that's how they were able to gain so much time on that first stop, and how they were able to get as much time as they might have done this run too, as they're now ahead of the leader and starting to drive away from them. So these two cars, they're not going to race each other. They're going to stay right in line. They're going to drive away as much as they can, and just hope that when the rest of the field pits, they don't have enough time to get back to them with the clean tires. So what I'm hearing right now, I think there's some guys that are within a lap or two of making it, but at the same time, it's still a lap or two of fuel, and we still have 30 to go. So, there's still a lot of racing to do. There's still a chance that something could happen. At the same time, if you're that close, when do you start really diving into it if you're out there racing, Corey?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I'm not someone who's been in this position very recently, but like I said earlier, I don't think you could flip the switch at this point. If it's that close, I think you would have already needed to make that call, which is why, I'd have a little bit more faith in a Matt Long strategy at this point, but now he's so far back, running by himself. I don't know if he's too far back at this point, so I think just as a comparison, Matt Diciani, 21 laps in last time by a 39.62. Matt Long, who was on the hypermiling strategy, 40.46. So that's a full, just about 0.7 of a second difference between Long, who's trying to save it, and Diciani, who, presumably is not.
Yeah, and it's tough right now because you're giving up all that time, and then like people that have pitted already, say Adam and Getter, they're running the 38 bracket still. So those guys are running blistering fast lap times. You're trying to save just to make the race on fuel. And at this rate, I would say Benefield and Getter are probably gonna catch Matt Long, even if he's able to make it on fuel. So it's that tough position where you really want to just try to make the race on fuel because you know the chance that you have to win it if you do. But at the same time, how much time can you give up?
Well,
or it's too late.
Here's the thing. So if you have to pit, you don't want to create much of a gap between Benefield and Gitter. So if for those, a Dustin Hall, a Blake Giglio, a Tracy, a Marty, you may as well come down now, because now that you're staying out, you're letting the 83 and the 21 get out there, create that gap on the fresh tires, and now you have to not only deal with the other strategy, you also have to catch them, who are going to have an advantage on you. So I think you kind of should have already made your bet now. Alex Van der Sant coming in, he already had damage, which I'm not sure how important that factoid is, but yeah, for those who need to pit, I think they should already have been a pit road personally, which Dustin Hall being on the same team, if I do believe I have my factoids correct there, and I do, makes me wonder even more why he's so off strategy.
Yeah, it's questionable. Like I said, I thought, if these guys are on the same team, they would try to run the same strategy, but maybe you're trying to, if you're on that team, you're trying to kind of cut your losses. you know, have 2 of your guys come down pit road in case it does stay green, and then have 2 of your guys stay out in case the yellow comes out. It's very possible that that's the situation, because even at this point, if we get a yellow in the next couple laps, it's going to be a tough call, you know, for Benefield and those guys to stay out, because they've already run at least 10 or 11 laps. So
just as a final summary, you have some guys who are 36 laps in. You have some guys that are 26 laps in, and we see John Delaney starting to get a little bit conservative there on the fuel load, and then you have some guys like a Benefield, Dyson, and Gitter who are 11 laps in. We do have Rob Tracy coming to the attention of his crew. I think he was at the back end of the top 10. But
I'm getting word now we're going to have some more cars down pit road. Those guys that had stayed out on the last couple cautions, you see it right there, the leader and is that Desiani as well, the 2 teammates coming down, as well as Drumhill are back there.
Yep, and Hall coming in, so still waiting on Giglio. Giglio is one of the ones who has stayed out the longest, but still finds himself on the track right now.
Yeah, so those guys I think could maybe stretch it right now to somewhere between 15 to go and 10 to go. I think 10 to go would probably be a little bit much, but they can probably stretch it with the caution periods. But you're kind of putting yourself in a bad spot, I think. But if you're someone like a Blake Giglio,
was Hall get a penalty? I think Hall got a speeding penalty. He's stuck in his box.
Oh boy, that's one way to throw away a good run. And you called it earlier, you know, you said it's a tough place to... You said it was a place where it's easy to speed getting off the road.
I called the finish last night, and apparently I say things that I know what I'm talking about sometimes. This is fabulous. It makes me feel like I'm actually worth the money sometimes. But Giglio staying out, so Dustin Hall.
Oh, the sad face right there from Dustin as he finally is able to pull off from the pits. But this race is not over yet. You know, you still have 23 laps to go. So some things happen here. He might be able to get a couple laps back and might have a chance at it still.
Not over. You got to do it right this time around to put Chris Daughtry, which is probably that song's probably older than half the people in this league at this point. But coming down the back straightaway with 22 to go, again, it puts us in the boat where you have Delaney still on track, Heitman still on track. Now, how much longer are they going to stay out on those old tires? But let's also reconvene with where Dyson, Gitter, and Benefield are. Gitter and Benefield off of turn number 2 right now. Matt Disiani entering turn number 1 right now. So he has about a whole turn to catch up, which is about 7 seconds. But he does have 13 lap fresher tires, but he has no drafting help. So can Disiani do that? Your guess is as good as ours.
Yeah, and we still got a couple guys like a Matt Long, like Mark Pageant. I'm not sure, you know, how well it's going to work out as we still have 22 to go. I'm here in the 02 car. They're reporting roughly 2 to 3 laps short still. Matt Long is reporting between 1 and 2 laps short still. So even as much as they have been saving, they're still on the edge. So I just don't know if anybody's going to be able to make it.
So Disiani, by the way, running a 39 flat to about a 39.4 for Benefield and Gitter. So he has 5 seconds to eat up, and he's running 0.4 of a second faster.
And he's alone.
And he's by himself. So Jason Taylor, who is 13 laps in, he kind of had a short pit strategy. He's still running behind Benefield. Here comes Giglio to the pits.
All by himself as well.
So, I mean, this still could work out because we're so spread out on the track that he's going to blend out with somebody, even if it's not the intended idea.
We got one car that is very upset on the radio, and that is the number 6 of John Delaney. He's sitting in that car going, no, no, no. No. He was saving fuel behind Giglio. Now he's leading that the line. We're gonna
Well,
have
he
to
can
wait
let
and
Hyben
see.
by, but Hyben's
Yeah,
not going to want to
Willie.
go by.
Exactly. You know, these three cars, as hard as they were going, I just don't see them being able to make it. But I've been wrong before. So
Now, Benefield, no, actually, it's going to be Dyson who is the highest up of those two, is guaranteed to go.
that took the 2 tires.
Yes, but he is 25 seconds behind John Delaney. Last time by, he was 7/10 of a second faster than John Delaney. So you do the math, 7/10, 25 seconds, 19 laps. I'm going to say that doesn't work. But again, Delaney is kind of in the VW 1989 Daytona 500 fuel mentality right now, where it's going to be sputtering, it's going to be puttering, and I mean, in VW's case it made it, but we'll find out.
Yeah, and Dyson, you noticed, you just mentioned a minute ago, he's getting swallowed up right now by Benefield and Getter. They're easily gaining on him, only about 10 car lengths back now. They're going to get by him, I think, within the next 2 laps. So those 2 cars running faster than Dyson, obviously, as a pair. So as a tandem, I think it's still going to be really close if they're able to catch Delaney, unless he starts having to majorly clutch that car. And well, these top 3, I guess, are the top 7 or 8 that are still trying to make it on this fuel strategy. Like I said, I still don't think it's going to be enough. Even if they can make it, they're probably not going to win it.
Now running about a half second a lap faster than even both of they're running both of Gitter and Benefield. So Visciani, he still has 3 seconds to go, but he seems to be in the position to get there if he's able to kill that gap. I think he has the best car to do so. But up front, they are now still running in that 40.2. So it's for those who may have joined in late or who have crashed out of the race and are trying to get a top-down summary, we have 3 different strategies right now. We have the guys who probably can't make it, but it's plausible that they may kind of be able to. You have the guys that probably can make it, but they may lose positions to the guys who already pitted. Then you have the guys who already pitted but pitted early. And then you have the guys that already pitted but pitted late and are trying to catch up. We basically have 4 things going on, and how it works out is anyone's ball game here. And we still have the unknown of, is a caution going to come out and throw all this in the trash can?
And that's always possible. With all these guys, some on fresh tires right now, some on full tanks of fuel, and they're trying to get by these top 3, and the top 3 are probably like, guys, you're screwing me here. Get out of my way. Just go by me and let me save my fuel. But as of right now, it's, they're getting their laps back. They're putting themselves in a better spot if we do get that caution. But at the same time, they're saving.
By the way, what you see right now, Benefield and Gitter, they are in heavy traffic right now. They are battling with Paget, with Dyson, and that is only going to help Matt Disciani out and have him close in. And I am putting Matt Disciani as the guy I think is in the best chance to win this race. He just needs a little bit of help to get him closed all the way in. But I think personally that 4 car is in the best spot. Just a tiny bit of help. He's just getting around Jason Taylor. Only has about 2.5 seconds to get to Benefield and Gitter with fresher tires. So that's my pick. Calling it early. I'm taking the 4 if this thing stays green. But I always love a good fuel mileage race, and we definitely have it on our hands. So everybody in chat, what's your pick? Do you think there's enough fuel in the tank? Do you think the fresh tires? Do you think the fresher tires? Let's have some discussion here as we close this thing out.
Yeah, I think right now, at least as he is catching them guys, he's looking really strong. But at the same time, how much tire is he using? Being by himself there, trying to chase them down. And when does the tire wear time start to even off?
I know, Carlos, if we can cue it on board with Disciani now, you can see he's within tow range at this point of Benefield and Gitter, and he's still running about a half-second faster a lap. So he's going to get there. In fact, he might be there within 2 laps at this point. And again, this, I think personally, is the battle for the win right now.
Definitely could be, assuming that we stay green. So, and that's a big assumption. And you know what they say about assuming. So
yeah, look at the graphic on screen. Look at those big numbers there in that 9th spot in relation to the numbers in front. That is some big numbers there, and that is leading to that white car in front. That's Benefield, getting bigger and bigger, and it'll only get bigger and bigger as we get into slipstream here. So I think we'll keep an eye on this for a brief moment, because this could very well be the battle for the win. We may need to get a multi-cam up with the battle for the actual lead now, because who knows, that still could be the battle for the win here, because now we're in 10 laps to go here at the Michigan Speedway. Carlos on point here. You ask, you do receive.
we're just gonna have to wait and see now.
So look at the top and the bottom of the shot. Diciani is there. He is there. And now it's on the top of the shot. Now we switch places here, I think. So on the top of the shot here, Diciani, he's getting to the inside of Dyson right now. Dyson on those 2 tires. All right, we switch back. Switch back. So now it's on the bottom again. Here comes Diciani on the bottom, and I think, Carlos, you're driving me crazy. It's late. I can't get it. You're giving me a headache. It's late. So now it's on the top of the track, and look at him. He passed him like they weren't even moving. So Matt Diciani is now in the most favorable position here. Eve alone.
Yeah, and I think this could be huge. If he wins this race, that shakes up the whole point situation that we keep mentioning, because from my numbers, he was in on points. But the difference of being in on points is if you're only in on by points, and you miss a race or 2 of the last 3 that we have after tonight, you can drop back out. If he wins this race, he's locked in. You know, there's no issues. He's not going to drop outside the top 25. So this could be huge. Obviously, we still have a lot of racing to go, but at this point, he's driving away from that guy.
Yeah, and he's still running a half-second faster a lap. So those fresher tires, maybe they dialed something in because they knew he was going to be by himself. But he is still in that good position. Per my outdated points, he was 91 to the good after New Hampshire. Not sure what that was after last week's race, but that would be the auto lock if he could pull this one off. But up front for the overall race lead, which I think is on the bottom of our shot, and so Carlos switches it again. We are at 43 and 44 laps into our run, so again, that'll be 51 to 52. And the lap times, as Carlos said, they are not saving lap times now, back into the high 30s. Remember, they were low 40s for a little bit, back into the high 30s. So a lot more throttle on play here for the leaders. And does that mean they have the confidence that they have enough? Or does that mean they're just going to run each other dry? Kind of, what was it? Biffle and Johnson back in the day. They ran each other out of fuel, and then Mark Martin came from third and beat them both.
Yeah, so it's at this point, I know a couple guys that are 1 lap short at this point, but the problem with being short, if you're that 1 lap short, a lot of these guys have already gotten passed by either, Dessiani, Getter, Benefield, any of those. They've gotten passed by 1 or all of them. So even if you're able to make it now, yeah, you might be able to get a decent finish out of it if you weren't going to get a decent finish before, but the chances to win right now, they're gone unless we get a caution.
Yes, indeed they are. And I don't think that, so Diciani, by the way, he has gapped Benefield and Gitter by 1.5 seconds by itself. So that point is over right there. But he is 19 seconds behind John Delaney right now, with 6 laps to go. If John Delaney has any question now, he can back off. I mean, I guess as much as Derek Heitman will allow him to back off and preserve that fuel, because based on what we're seeing numbers-wise now, they're actually running the same lap time. Diciani a 39.64 to a 39.78, so actually only a tenth slower that time for Delaney, who is pulling to the inside down the back straightaway. Is he just doing that for fun? Yes, he is.
Yeah, you mentioned that. And another thing to mention is, as hard as Delaney, Heitman, Alexander, they were all up there in that front line. They were all pushing pretty hard. As Getter is now pushing even, Delaney pushing even harder. How much more fuel did they use compared to Anderson and Gunsman that are 4th and 5th at this point? You know, those two cars still ahead of Matt, still ahead of Getter. So even if these top 3 don't make it, one car could, you know, either Anderson or Gunslinger, and they could make it and win this race easily, I think, at this point, for how much they have been saving this run.
So the top 3, they're separated by 3 seconds. And you go back another 8 seconds to Bobby Anderson in 4th. So really, there's a fairly good gap there.
Oh, that was interesting. Really slow. I think that might be Princeton right there. They passed. That was close. That was almost our caution.
Yeah, so then the fresh tires and whatnot. Blake Giglio on the freshest tires of that bundle right there, and he was working his way through. And back to John Delaney's fuel situation here, coming to 2 laps to go, 4 miles around. He's up by a second, so now he has a little bit more breathing room over Heitman. And let's see what he's doing. I'm watching his onboard. He's not really coasting it. He's still kind of, you know, putting it in full gear here. Coming down to 2 laps to go. I think the impossible might be possible here. I think he might be able to do this.
Yeah, once that car starts stumbling, though, he's going to lose a lot of time very quickly. And, you know, I'm not sure what situation Heitman's in for fuel, but Bryson Alexander's back there, only about 4 seconds back, and then you have Anderson about, I think, 12 seconds back. So, you know, I don't know, as Anderson might be hitting here, or he's probably having a issue with fuel. So these guys, you know, they're starting to stumble, they're starting to have issues. We'll have to see if Delaney can make it all the way back around, though.
Coming into the white flag lap here in the Motor City 400. Michigan Speedway has been known for years and years to be a fuel mileage race, and nothing else on our hands but exactly that here on the evening. He's been up front for a total of 51 laps. It'll be 52. If he can make it around, 52 would be the number of laps led. It will also be the number of laps that are in this stint. John Delaney trying to get those playoff points. He's shaking it. Is he doing it for the meme, or is he actually out? Looks by the RPMs like he's doing it for the meme. He's trying to just get us to think he doesn't have enough. He's going to clutch it into 3 and 4, but that number 6 is under just enough power to come off turn number 4. 52 laps led, 52 laps in the stint. A number 1 position on the podium. John Delaney wins at Michigan.
Yep, we said it was possible, as looks like Heitman is stumbling right after he passed the line. So these guys were on fumes. I think Delaney's going to clutch it to try to make it back around and do a little bit of a victory celebration. But we said it was possible when they came down pit road. If these guys could save enough, and obviously a couple of them were able to. And what a great run for Bryson Alexander in his first start in a good amount of time here, finishing on the podium.
It's always insult to injury when you have a guy. Let me take a guy like a Matt Long, who tried so hard. He was saving it so hard, slowing down so much. And then you have a John Delaney who basically slowed down for about 5 laps, ran full speed the rest of the race. Still has enough. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. There was an old guy in the 60s who had a 50-foot fuel line there and had about an extra 10 gallons in the tank until NASCAR ruled it out. You wonder if that's what happened. Of course not. But John Delaney did a masterous job saving the fuel, running a good pace, keeping Heitman behind him, and he'll get to celebrate here on the front straightaway. And he has just enough to light him up.
Just enough, literally.
And of course, Michigan Speedway, one of the few tracks in iRacing that you actually can celebrate in victory lane. And he will park it right there. So congratulations to the 6 car. I do see the 10 of Bryson Alexander getting a push back to the pits by Alex Princeton. I don't know if that's legal or not. So he's getting back on the front straightaway here. But while the celebration does continue, I think we can go and list off our final race results here today from the Michigan Speedway. John Delaney with the fuel save win, gets it by a second and a quarter over Derek Heitman, with Bryson Alexander getting the third. Chad Gunningsman in fourth, or rather Robert Anderson in fourth, Chad Gunningsman in fifth, and I picked Matt Diciani. I thought he had it in the bag, but fuel said otherwise in sixth. Blake Giglio in seventh, he won a stage. Gitter, Benefiel, and Dyson round out your top 10.
Last night's winners, Jason Jedi Taylor in 11th, Matt Long in 12th. Alex Van de Stent comes back for a pretty solid finish after a very eventful night in 13th. Rob Tracy, solid run for him, 14th. Schofield in 15th. Kevin Steele in 16th. Tanner Marty in 17th. And Randy Drumheller in 18th. And then rounding out our top 20 tonight, we're going to have Dustin Hall after that penalty, what could have been tonight, and Mark Pageant. Not a good night for someone that really needed a good night and points.
And then rounding out our 29 car finishing grid here on the evening, SOP finished Sean O'Brien in 21st, Alex Princeton in 22nd, Kyle Ammon, he incidented it out and was not happy about it in 23rd. Dalton Mobley had some issues 24th. Everybody else out relatively early in the race. Brandon Pierce, Clayton Hoffman, Trevor Ryan, Neil Pearson, and Ralph Hutchison are our finishing order here today. So now we can head down to the podium here, and I guess let's start at the top of the podium, work our way down here tonight. We'll head in and grab our race winner. Well, John, we asked ourselves that entire last run, can you do it? Can you do it? Some guys gave up on it. Some guys slowed down too much. You managed to keep the lead, keep Derek behind you, and still had enough to do a burnout, man. What was the how much is left in the tank, I guess, should I ask?
So there's nothing left in the tank now, but coming across the line at 0.08 gallons of fuel left. And you know, I was I'm gonna admit, I was trying to save enough for me to do a burnout. That was in the back of the mind. But yeah, as soon as we went green, I didn't think it was possible, so I went pretty hard out trying to get some clean air, because I was I think I started around 10th or something. But kind of went hard, started the run, and then I was realizing, you know, that it really wouldn't be too bad or too hard to save the fuel to be able to finish out and go to the end. So that I decided, hey, you know, let's just try and save the fuel. There's only a few of us that pitted that last caution, so I was like, all right, we'll just try and save it. And started clutching on entry, and just kind of lifting a little early and waiting as long as possible to go full throttle, and we were able to save the fuel. It was really wasn't expecting that many people to pit. I thought more people would have tried to stay out and just go as long as possible, hoping for a caution. But yeah, we were able to do it.
And I'll tell you, man, from the booth, these kind of races they're hard for us to call, because you have so much going on, so many different strategies, and you're trying to wonder if you're on the right pace, if who you need to keep behind you, who you need to keep in front, who has the better tires, where should you pit. What is that like from the driver's perspective when you know your team's talking, all right, he's doing this, he's doing that, where should we go? What's it like from the driver's perspective? Try to manage one of these races where there's so many different strategies at play.
Yeah, there's a lot. Especially for me, it's harder at like short tracks and tracks that take more where it uses more of a setup that week, that where you're really reliant on the setup as compared to draft like it was here at Michigan, because it just you can't break the draft. It's super hard. So on top of the, you know, when you're pitting and, you know, trying to figure out who's on which strategy and who has fresher tires and who has a good long run car, good short run car, you know, you're trying to find adjustments to make the car better. And then on top of that, you know, if you're trying to save the fuel, then you got to worry about that. And you know, you're constantly focusing on saving as much fuel as possible. So there's a lot that can go on throughout a race. So just being able to multitask is it's huge in races like this. So yeah.
And I got one more for you. Of course, the regular season coming to an end, and we got 2 road courses, which I think all of us know that one of the Aussies is probably going to win one of them. And then we head to Daytona. So as you try to get yourself even better seeding, more playoff points, more regular season points and whatnot, which of the next 3 races do you most look forward to? Think you have the best chance at?
Probably not Indy Road. Probably one of the either Neil or Dyson. So they'll probably blow those races. Both that one and probably Watkins Glen away. Yeah, I might have a little bit of a chance at Watkins Glen, but probably not much. But I'm feeling pretty good about Daytona. Those are always one of my stronger suit tracks. So and then those are all really about same thing, kind of strategy. So we'll have to work together with my teammates over at Apex Racing and see if we can go and get one of us get the win. So yeah. Oh, I lost my my favorite drafting partner. So we're gonna have to try and find a new one this year.
Well, as fast as you are, man, shouldn't be that hard to get someone to work with that 6. Congrats on a solid win here tonight, and we'll see what you can do on the road courses in the next couple weeks.
Thank you, guys.
And now Jeff has caught up with second place of Derek Heitman.
Hey Derek, it's Jeff here in the booth. You got me?
What's going on?
Not too much. We saw you up front. We saw you in the back. We saw you mid-pack tonight. We saw you show some stuff there once people's tires started falling off. And then we saw you have to play the strategy there to end up with this second place finish. How difficult was it to be able to make it, and how much did you have at the end of the race?
It was extremely difficult, honestly. I'm just lucky that I had other people saving with me too. So 3 people running the same strat really helped out. All 3 of us were draft partners together for quite a while there. You know, I didn't start saving until there was about 35 laps to go. And that's because I was just watching the standings and the relatives, trying to figure out where Patrick and Adam were. And as soon as I figured out that like they didn't have enough laps to catch us and they weren't fast enough to catch us, I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna play the save game. And so it really helped out a lot. Crossing the line, I had 1/10 of a gallon of fuel left, and I ran out probably 100 yards past it.
Wow, that's perfect timing then. You know, you did just the best, just enough fuel to make it to the finish. Now we know points-wise, you know, we don't have an exact number, but I've done some math in the background. It doesn't look very promising for you to be able to point your way in right now. Roughly, I would say at least 60 to 70 points out at the time. But how much does this mean just momentum-wise? You know, we're going to 2 road courses with Indy and then Watkins Glen and then Daytona, where we know everything, anything can possibly happen. Momentum of taking a second place finish in the Indy road course, and what's the possibility do you think that you can go out there and win one of the next 3 races?
I feel like I can go out there and definitely win the Glen, since I won there last year. I you know, history has it that it's very hard to repeat back-to-back in this league, but we're going to give it our best shot. I think that I can make it in on points. I wasn't too far below the cut line. You know, coming up on this race, I know that the guy in the cut line, which I believe Neil, he disconnected. He didn't finish the race. I don't think they'd, you know, anybody in front of me really got good finishes. We lost Sean. He didn't get a good finish, you know. So, I mean, anything can happen. I scored pretty damn good stage points during this race as well. So we'll just have to see what happens. I scored points in stage 1 and stage 2. Just trying to get the most out of it that I can. Just being smart, taking care of the car. I almost got caught up in one on the exit of 2. Right front was a little destroyed. Luckily, I only had 20 seconds of optional, got it all fixed, and was able to come away with a good finish.
Well, sounds good. Congratulations on your second place, and we look forward to seeing what you can do next week at Indy Road Course.
Yeah, real quick, shout out Prodigy Esports for bringing me on the team. Without them, I would be a lost puppy dog at the moment. Shout out to Ken Byron over at Ryko Performance, making a great setup every single week. And then I always got to shout out Michael Conti for for teaching me a lot on the sim, and mentoring me for a year, and pretty much making me the driver I am today. So thank you guys.
Oh, that was Derek Heitman, our second place finisher. As he said, just ran out of gas basically when he was crossing the line, but he was able to make it. And I think Corey's got Bryson Alexander, our third place finisher tonight.
All right, Bryson, you were the third place finisher, and of course you were on that same fuel strategy run. Delaney said he had just enough, and he had enough to do a burnout, and but then we had Derek Heitman, who just barely made it over the start-finish line. Where did you fare in that capacity? How much do you have left at the finish of this one?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely in the same boat as Derek. I went out crossing the start-finish there, and the buddy Alex Princeton actually had to push me back across there.
Now, for your sake, I'm being perfectly honest. It was a quiet run. I mean, you weren't up there. You were up there in the lead pack, but we didn't see you shuffling in the top 5 going for the lead. But you were there when it happened. What was your kind of mentality of kind of getting through the hornet's nest of what tonight's race was? What was your mentality with that?
Honestly, prior to today, I actually hadn't been on the service for like the past 3 months. So going into tonight, I was honestly expecting just running in the back and having some fun racing with these guys. So yeah, definitely didn't have a plan for all that, but went better than expected also.
Well, if you're definitely coming back to the service, you came back at the probably the toughest time of all. If you're looking to stay with the 100% schedule, because our next 2 weeks are at 2 road courses, and then we end the regular season at a plate track. So that being the case, coming back when you did, what kind of a road courser do you think you are? Can you carry any kind of momentum on the left and the right turns?
No, I definitely would not bet on myself when it comes to the road courses. You probably will not see me out there, to be honest.
Well, if that's the case, I guess we'd have to wait until Daytona, so might be 3 or 4 weeks time, but glad to see the 10 car out. Any shout outs or anything you want to say before we let you go?
I just want to shout out my boy Alex Princeton. He's always helped me out with strategy calls and just suggestions, so definitely want to shout him out. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, man. Well, congrats on coming back and having a solid podium. A lot of guys would love to be in your position now, so you did a good job, and we'll see you when we see you.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care.
All right, well, that is a broadcast here, Jeff. So not quite the race we saw last night, but still a thrilling finish in a different capacity here, a classic Michigan fuel mileage run.
Yeah, and when they pitted there, we said there's a possibility, but I don't think it's going to happen. And we even heard that from John, who won the race today on that strategy. So whenever we feel like we're right and we know what's going on, we're wrong. So you never know what's going to happen. Next week we could have fuel mileage racing happen at that road course at Indy, but we'll have to remember that we won't have stage cautions next week, but we will have the randomly thrown based on off tracks and other incidents caution. So there's an opportunity for people to play strategy next week, just like we saw tonight, and we'll just have to wait and see until next Saturday night who decides to roll the dice and try to get their way into the playoffs.
All the storylines at play, the Aussies trying to get themselves in, everybody trying to get those last second points. So stay tuned to the 100% YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. And we'll be back. It's Corey, Jeff signing out of the booth, Carlos signing out of the production truck. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.